probably Libby, because he's at least got a couple of pitches that might profile similarly to the slider that we saw from Fott in that postseason.
And this is smoked to left center. That'll bring home the 5th run of the game for Kansas City. It gets to the wall. Velasquez picks it up.
There have been a lot of times where I've been sold one thing on Matthew Liberatore and I see something that's quite different. Last night, I saw it.
That might be the end of the line for Matthew Liberatore.
Oh, boy, this is a tough one right here. 7 runs and 6 extra base hits, and a very, very short evening for Matthew Liberatore.
He's going to be great from April until about the beginning of May, and then from June to August, there's going to be a reason why he struggled. But then when September hits, watch out, buddy.
Nostradamus Alex Ferrario over here alongside Alex and T-Bone. I'm BK. Audio courtesy of Cardinals TV last night. That sucked. That was one of the very few Cardinals games this year that was just a miserable watch. Now, kudos to the offense for keeping it semi-interesting for the second half of the game, but Matthew Liberatore sucked. That was one of the worst starts that we've seen by a Cardinals starter so far this year. Probably the worst start that we've seen by anybody.
Game score of 19, so I'd say, yeah, probably. Worst one since Dustin May?
Yeah, I was going to say, since May, probably his first two
Also,
were
but
ugly.
take that in for a minute. It's the first time they've had an awful start by a starting pitcher since Dustin May in, March, April?
Yeah.
So, also impressive.
No doubt. Man, this has been a really bad stretch by Matthew Liberatore. He was amazing in the month of May. Alex was right. He was really good in May. And then June hit, and it was almost as though he got punched in the face and had no ability to respond. I don't know what happened. Major League Baseball has seemingly seen, all right, so this is his new plan. We are going to go ahead and attack the fastball specifically. And he's getting absolutely crushed. Yesterday after the game, I respect Ollie Marmol. He was asked, hey, was he tipping pitches? Is that what was going on? Like, what happened here? He's like, no, man, they just had a great plan of attack and they beat him. And sometimes that happens in Major League Baseball. The problem for the Cardinals is that this is not new with Matthew Liberatore. There's now a 3-game stretch where he's gone a total of 10 innings, and he has a 10.5 ERA, and the underlying numbers say, yeah, that's real. He ain't getting unlucky. This is like Eric Fetty last year. Everything suggests they're just crushing the baseball. There's nothing he's doing that's working right now. Now, the strikeout stuff, still there to a degree. 10 strikeouts in his last 10 innings. But there's nothing else that you can point to and be like, yeah, but this is working for him. Nah, man, it all sucks right now. And this is dating back basically to late June of last year. You remember the first half last season, he was outstanding, had a 3.7 ERA when we woke up on June 30th of last year. And then in the second half had a 5+ ERA. Since that date, June 30th of last season, Matthew Liberatore has a 5.1 ERA in more than 130 innings as a starter for the St. Louis Cardinals. There are 123 other starters, Alex, in Major League Baseball that have thrown at least 100 innings in that stretch of time that we're talking about. Matthew Liberatore ranks 110th among them in ERA. So he's a bottom 20 starter in the league. Since June 30th, we're talking about nearly a calendar year now of work for Matthew Liberatore, bottom 20 starter in the league. I bought into about 5 starts from Matthew Liberatore. It now looks foolish that I bought into that stretch of time for him. What do you make of what we're witnessing right now for Libby?
Concerned that the rotation is going to lose a starting pitcher that I thought was going to be a main piece of it. Like, even before June 30th last year, when you just showed that 3.7 ERA, look at the start of June for Libby. He had 2 starts, one against the Royals, one against the Blue Jays, where he gave up a total of 12 runs. And he got back on track a little bit. And then, as you just pointed out, July, it just completely fell apart for him. This was the concern all along. And last year, I could make the argument of, like, look, it's a little bit of fatigue, I would imagine. It's the first time being a starter for 162. Let's see what it looks like at the end of the season. It didn't get any better as that season went on. It just continued to kind of down spiral for him. And it's like, all right, can you get the conditioning back? And he was good at the beginning. Like, I thought they finally had the answer of, look, Matthew Liberatore was a guy we targeted. We thought we could get up to being one of those top echelon pitchers for us. The swing and miss stuff is what got you excited. But then it's just like complete kaput with this guy. He's not giving you a length at all. He's really not able to miss as many bats. And now it just seems like people have the ability to target what he's trying to do to them. So for Matthew Liberatore, I mean, the concern right now is, okay, he's not a starting pitcher for you. The good thing about that is, well, you got a pipeline that you'll be able to backfill moving forward. The bad thing in this magical season we're talking about, man, if you lose another guy in terms of, like, you don't have Matthew Liberatore, and we're already talking about Kyle Leahy being somewhat of an issue and your pipeline's not there yet, well, you're really going to have something that pulls you through the month of July, because that's the month we've targeted of this could fall out real quick. And with Atlanta twice, Milwaukee, Chicago, if you don't have a Matthew Liberatore performing well, you're going to rely heavily on your bullpen. And you saw what happened with your bullpen if they get taxed.
I'm less worried about the rotation overall and more worried just about this specific pitcher. Because, like, I think McGreevy may have been awesome. Palante's been very good. Leahy, while it's frustrating that he's not getting deeper into games, he's mostly been fine.
He'll give you a chance through, like, 4.
Yeah, and then you see what happens in the 5th, right? But he's been okay. He's been good enough. Liberatore is the one that I would hone in on and circle it as being like, this is a problem for the Cardinals right now. And the question is there a pivot? Is there anything they can do? Andrew Marsh texted me last night. As you can imagine, he's none too thrilled about the Liberatore experience. He's with Alex, by the way. He's done with Leahy, too. But Liberatore in particular,
I get that, too.
He's ready to get him out of here.
I'm done with a lot of these guys.
He actually suggested something, and I want to make sure I give him credit for this idea. He said, he's like, I would just pull him from the rotation, put him into the bullpen. But if I'm going to be nice, do you consider switching his catcher? Because he's the one guy that has continued to throw to Pedro Pages. Every start this year, I believe, for Matthew Liberatore has been a Pedro Pages start behind the plate. Do you consider switching it up in that regard and saying, hey, we're going to give you a Jimmy Crooks day now, just to change things up a little bit? See if that's something that could work sequencing-wise. Now, I don't think yesterday was a sequencing problem. I think it was an execution problem, and that's all on Libby. I'm not trying to throw Pages under the bus for this, but maybe it's just like a game planning change. Maybe you start your pregame routine a little differently. I don't know. Just switch something up. That's at least an interesting idea to me to see, hey, is there some kind of a variable that you can switch here with Libby?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. I mean, it's not working right now. I mean, it's 3 starts that it's been ugly, and even prior to that, he was giving up a lot of runs, even if he was getting swing and miss stuff, and he wasn't going further than five innings for him. I mean, it's not working with Pages if he's been the guy for every one of them. So I think before you get to the big time decisions of, does he go to the bullpen? Do you send him to the minors? Do you try and put somebody else in that spot? I think you at least try in all the variables and say, all right, well, let's put Jimmy Crooks back there and see if he makes a difference for Matthew Liberatore, because then you could cancel out any X factors and say, no, this is a Liberatore problem.
Yeah, I mean, you can try it, but a new catcher that's good at game calling, if you would think Crooks is an upgrade, or if you even wanted to do Herrera in this case, wanted to try those guys because you think, maybe they're better game callers, they can't fix a bad pitcher. And that's what Matthew Liberatore is, right? He's just not a starter. And I think he can be a potential bullpen arm for you. Like, if you wanted to make that move eventually, he could maybe slot into the pen and he can go either long relief or maybe at times, as we've seen, I mean, as you heard in the open when BK was buying in, there are times where he does have swing and miss stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe you can play up to that when you go back to the bullpen potentially, and instead of trying to go in these long spurts of trying to go 5 or 6 innings, maybe it plays up if he can just go max effort for an inning. So I think that is probably more of the next step than it is switching up the catcher. You could try it just to see, but my expectation is, like you said, if it was Crooks or Herrera behind the plate, who's going to get whacked around yesterday? I just think as a starter, he's a guy that you only have in your rotation if you don't have a pipeline that has pitching depth in it.
I think that's probably true. I don't think they're going away from it, though.
Not yet, I don't think.
Ollie's comments yesterday after the game said, hey, flush this one, go to your game plan meeting, figure out what went wrong, and get back out there in a few days. And I think that's probably going to be the plan. I think they give it one more shot. And then after that, I'll be really curious to see what they do. I wonder if you could potentially skip a start for him. You know, like maybe you give Hunter Dobbins a start. They tried this last year where they're like, he's running on fumes. maybe you skip a start. You put him into the bullpen for one of his other starts where, like, maybe Hunter Dobbins gets Matthew Liberatore's next start. Right now, they're on the same turn when it comes to the rotation. Dobbins started yesterday down in AAA. Libby started up here at the major league level. So maybe you start Dobbins, you bring in Liberatore as like a bullpen day, quote unquote, and you give him 2 innings coming out of the pen to keep him fresh, but make sure that he's getting some in-game action still. How do you actually make this all work? I don't know. It's going to be complicated, but they're going to have to get creative sooner rather than later if these struggles continue for Matthew Liberatore. Do you guys think there is a pivot? Is it Dobbins? Is it Bryson Motts? Is it potentially even bringing up a Quinn Matthews, who's been very good down at the AAA level lately as well? Do you think there's a pivot in the system right now beyond just going out there and making some kind of a trade to upgrade in this spot?
Not right now. I think I would probably give it a few more starts. I think by the All-Star break, if we're still having the Matthew Liberatore conversation, then that's when I think the pivot goes to Quinn Matthews. What's he doing down in the minors? If it's still consistently like it's been, Bryson Motts, Hunter Dobbins, wherever you want to go with it. I just don't think there's a pivot right now. I mean, if you wanted to spot start and just say we're going to skip you one to get your head right and then go back to it, I don't think you're at the point yet of just pulling him out of the rotation completely.
I don't think you're there yet, but I think you probably got another turn, probably 2 turns through. And if it still looks this bad, I think they would potentially pivot. And originally I probably would have said no to that, but considering how much I've seen them churn through this roster, I think the answer probably would be Dobbins. I think Dobbins is clearly slated as the 6th man right now. Maybe they would go Motts. Maybe they would try Matthews, especially since both are on the 40-man. But I would lean towards, my gut would tell me they would go to Dobbins. They would put Libby in the bullpen, and then they would make some kind of move to clear out a spot for him in the pen.
Because at that point, you've got Liberatore in the Brule move. In the Brule
I'm in favor. We should do it now.
Spot. And now you've got the flexibility that you've been looking for, and you've got that lefty coming out of the pen.
Brule yet is because, one, Libby hasn't played well yet against lefties this year. Now, maybe he would in shorter
Probably
spurts,
changes a little bit based upon matchups if you're putting him into the pen.
You don't necessarily have to do that move because you could option somebody instead, right? That way, if you
There's
wanted
just so
to keep
few
Brule,
options.
I mean, I agree, but we know.
And
If
Brule's
you want to
one
keep
of the.
Brule,
I'm somebody that doesn't think that the Brule experience has been as bad as people make it out to be. But if you're putting Liberatore in the pen, his role is what Brule has been doing.
unless they want him as a bulk guy, right? I mean, they could just say we'll keep him as a bulk.
This
and
isn't
Brule
working
be
as a
our
bulk
second guy.
Because you've got other options in that role. Graceffo can continue to maintain that role. I understand he's been getting his nipples lit on fire as well.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. We're not getting into that.
Yeah,
he's been fine. He's had 2 rough outings.
Last night was fine, huh?
Yeah, you want to go down?
Thought that went well?
And we go through
His
the
last
list of
2
other
outings have gone real
We
well
go through
for
the list of the
Graceffo
other
over there.
bullpen arms that have been roughed up lately.
Compared to him?
Joe Romero's been roughed up
Not
lately.
like that.
It's been
Nobody's
2
getting
starts.
roughed up like
you know
that.
what he did the prior 2, the 10 innings that he was roughed up?
Allow a bunch of base runners.
0.87 ERA.
Yeah,
Shut
look at
up.
the expected
He's
numbers.
fine.
And how many inherited
I've
runners
already
did he
been
allow to
proven
score?
right with this. We don't need to have the argument.
Great with inherited runners.
I know, but I
this
feel
year.
like
He's literally
lately-
one of the best in Major League Baseball.
He's a
like
fireman.
Gordon Graceffo, last 2 outings, has gone 2 1/3, has allowed 4 hits, 4 walks, 6 earned runs. Woof.
He's trying
Prior
put
to
guy
that,
in the
10
circle
1/3
for us.
innings, 2 hits, 0 earned runs.
Do find this interesting. The Cardinals have won 2 of the last 8 games that Gordon Graceffo has appeared in. Just something worth noting.
Just
I mean,
stop.
that just
When
tells
he
me
enters
he's
a game,
true
Look, the
reliever.
precedent was set in that game last night by the guy you said was going to be Brandon Fott for the Cardinals this
To be
season.
fair, I didn't specify which version of Brandon Fott they
Well,
would
you
be
were
getting.
positive after a start when it was a negative, and we kind of read the lining there.
Yeah, Brandon Fott is basically Matthew Liberatore. Unfortunately, that's the derogatory version and not the good one that we saw in the playoffs.
Yeah, you were talking Brandon Fott in the playoffs.
Brandon Fott last 3 years, 4.7, 5.2, and 5.9 ERA. He has lost his spot in the rotation. He is now a reliever for the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's 11:17. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up at about 11:45, we'll get into Ask Us Anything. 314-399-9646. That is the Your Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. You can check us out on YouTube as always, at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. By the way, we do have 2 new podcasts over there. One, the Last Minute Blues podcast. The other, the Redbird Report. You can check those out on YouTube at your leisure, youtube.com/101ESPN STL. Coming up next, got to talk about the big news in the NHL as it pertains to the St. Louis Blues. This is the kind of upside play that Alex and I actually think makes a ton of sense for the Blues. T-Bone remains very much unconvinced, though. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
You can now listen to 101 ESPN on demand. Get caught up on all our shows and podcasts at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app. 101 ESPN podcasts are presented by the Schaefer Door Company.
Celebrate Father's Day with St. Louis Suit Company in Clayton. Family owned and operated for over 25 years. Shopping can't get any easier. Quality men's merchandise, unbelievable prices, and old school service. St. Louis Suit Company has all your men's clothing for work, church, or any special occasion. Suits as low as $149.99. Sport coats as low as $79.99. Silk ties as low as $5 each, or 5 for $20. Wide selection of dress shirts as low as $24.99. They also carry a great selection of shoes, socks, sweaters, coats, and more. Have a wedding coming up? Why rent when you can buy for the same price? St. Louis Suit Company is the area's #1 wedding destination. Select a new suit or tux for your groomsmen as low as $139.99. Located in Clayton at Forsyth and Central. They have free, easy parking after 5 and all weekend. And gift certificates are always available. St. Louis Suit Company is your hometown men's clothing store, where you walk in looking bad and out looking good.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough. But if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Love TMA? Then nominate yourself to be the Morning After Listener of the Month, and you could be selected and score a Form Energy prize pack. Sign up now at 101ESPN.com or TMASTL.com. The TMA Listener of the Month Club is presented by Form Energy. We do the work. We're right back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So yesterday, right after we got off the air, Alex, there was a report from Vancouver radio that there might be a little something going on.
Well, something.
Between the Canucks and the St. Louis Blues.
Obviously, Jake DeBrusk for the 15th overall pick. We've talked about this.
Go ahead and take a listen.
This Pettersson trade talk, I just want to say, is real. If the Canucks can offload that contract, they're going to try and do it. Somebody told me this morning that St. Louis is sniffing around Pettersson.
How many times have you said this?
No, but what do you, the Blues? No. Someone told me St. Louis is sniffing around Pettersson. I'm looking into it to see if it's true. The way it's been told to me is if the Canucks think they have a deal for Pettersson that makes sense for them, I am sure they will then take that deal to Pettersson's agents, J.P. Barry and Pat Brisson, to see if Pettersson will waive. Teams are desperate at the center ice position. Teams think they can turn this guy, Pettersson, into 80-point guy. Point per game is all he's got to do for some teams, and they'll be happy. Do the Canucks retain? Hearing through the grapevine, the Canucks don't want a ton back. They don't want to take a bad...
Well, they can't get a ton back.
A $6-7 million contract back. They don't want that. They're trying to unload Pettersson, DeBrusk, Besser, and not take a ton back.
Okay. So that audio is courtesy of the Donnie and Dolly show up in Vancouver.
And Dolly's a very insightful Canucks insider.
He's super plugged in.
Yeah.
He is as tight end with the Canucks as like Jeremy Rutherford is with the St. Louis Blues. To give you some perspectives, this is not a guy that just throws crap at the wall to see what sticks. This guy is a legit reporter who also happens to do radio in Vancouver. Jamie Rivers then heard that audio yesterday on the fast lane and backed up what you just heard there and said, hey, I heard something similar this morning, that there is some buzz around the Blues poking around on the Elias Pettersson conversation. This is not something that I had really considered for the Blues, Alex, because this is an $11.5 million cap hit. This is the opposite of the kind of thing that the Blues would typically do, where they go out there and get a big-time player on a massive contract with huge term remaining, no movement clause, by the way, associated with this deal. They haven't acquired any of those previously. And he's coming off of a couple of very bad seasons relative to his previous production. And let's be honest, there are some questions about the character here. There's been a lot of buzz on this is not a guy that you want in your locker room. Not because he's like a bad human off of the ice, but like just kind of a malcontent is the buzz that's been surrounding Elias Pettersson over the last couple of seasons. I say all of that, and then I also have this takeaway. I would seriously consider this if I was the Blues. It's the kind of upside play that they haven't done, and it's the kind of upside play that I think they need. Now, I would not do it at $11.5 million. If the Vancouver Canucks do not want to take back a bad contract, so like, for example, Pavel Buchnevich, then I would be asking them to take on a few $1 million. I'd take on Elias Pettersson, though, at $8 million. I think that would be a worthwhile value play for the Blues. And even if he continues to be a 15 to 20 goal scorer at 50 points per year, that's not a terrible deal for you because he can be a decent middle six center, and he and Dalibor Dvorsky can provide that depth down the middle. And between the two of them, they're making about $10, $12 million. That's fine. You can live with that, given the increase in the cap. If he regains his former form, now you're talking about an $8 million player who has the potential to score 30-plus points and get to 30-plus goals and get to 80-plus points every year. Well, that's a huge value at $8 million per year, given the rise in the cap. The off-ice stuff, the malcontent, that's something that you just have to trust Alexander Steen with his fellow Swede that they're going to be able to get on the same page and hopefully they can make this thing work. Alex, that was my takeaway when I heard this news. What was your takeaway on Elias Pettersson?
That I hate how much I'm starting to really like the idea of it. I mean, we had this last week when you were out. Somebody asked us in a segment if you'd consider Pettersson, or maybe we did the Tinder Thursday, and I said, no, absolutely not. Likes this individual. So you have a history of watching him develop through the juniors. You have a history of playing against him for a couple of years. If you're trading for this guy, it's the same thing that the Greg Croden conversation was that Joey told us. To think that they would be looking at this and trade for it and say, yeah, no, it'll all be fine. That's just not how they operate. We've heard from numerous people that Steen overthinks things. So he's going to be going through all of this. And in the sense of Pettersson, there are times where guys do get change of sceneries that work the best for them. Because the Vancouver Canucks, despite Pettersson's issues, they also had a lot of other issues, right? They've went through 3 different coaches, from Bruce Boudreau to Rick Tocchet to Adam Foote, have not been content with a head coach in a while. They lost some players when they looked like they were ready to go on for a run because the ownership didn't want to pay money for it, and then things started a really down spiral for them. So I can also look at Pettersson's position and say, yeah, maybe it hasn't been good for you, hasn't been good for the team. My concern is the state of the Blues roster. Because if you're bringing in a guy that's not pleased where he's at and just is one of those guys that, you know, goes about his business, and you're bringing him to a team that needs to have more hardworking, hard-ass guys, what's that going to do to everyone else in there? Is it going to create a rift in that locker room? Those are questions that I would imagine Steen and Montgomery and company would be asking. But, man, if you get Vancouver to eat $2-3 million of this, if you're telling me I can get a 27-year-old center for $8 million who's here for the next 6 years, who is very good defensively when he's on his game, is a guy that has touched 100 points in his NHL career, and he just needs a change of scenery, I'd rather do that than any of these other centers that we've talked all offseason about.
Had a couple of years where he was in the Selke conversation. To your point on him defensively, like this is not just some random
and his best years, 100-point season, 89-point season when he was in the Selke Trophy conversation was under Rick Tocchet, who is a hard-ass coach, like Jim Montgomery, who is a defensive-minded coach, and he scored 30 goals and had 89 points with him.
And we got a couple of texts. One of them says, Pettersson's only scored 80-plus points twice in his NHL career. He's been awful for the last 2 seasons. Totally fair. That's correct. He has only done that twice, and he's been bad the last couple of years. His bad, by the way, is not awful. It's still 15-plus goals and 45-plus points.
He was also a point-per-game player when he was 19 years old and a point-per-game player when he was 20 years old.
So that's what I wanted to get to. Even in his other down years relative to the 100 points, here are his goal-scoring production. 28 goals in 71 games, 27 goals in 68 games, 32 goals in 80 games, 39 goals in 80 games, 34 goals in 82 games. This is a 30-goal scorer most seasons. And then the last 2 years, he hit a roadblock. And it's been very bad, and he has scored a total of 30 goals over the last 2 seasons combined. Is that a Pettersson problem? Partially, absolutely. There's no way around it. Part of that is on him. Part of it is also a reflection of where Vancouver is as a team. I do wonder, and this happens sometimes, is this a player who's just not cut out to be the face of the franchise? Because that's what he has become. He's an $11 million player per year. He had a couple of years where he put up this crazy production, got paid accordingly. Is this somebody who needs to just fit in as a number 2 or number 3 center for a team? And if so, the Blues could actually be a pretty good spot for him because he's going to fit in behind Robert Thomas. He will not be seen here the same way that he was in Vancouver, where he was like the savior of the franchise and was supposed to lead them to the promised land. Here, he's just a guy that helps. Mm-hmm. He's not going to have a letter. He's not going to be somebody that you're counting on to be like the best player on the team. No, be a good, productive number 2 center who can get the most out of some of these young players on your wing. If you can do that, hey, man, we're cool. No other problems here. Just fit in. Be a solid middle 6 center for the St. Louis Blues at $8 million.
Yeah, somebody said Alex only likes this idea because it's rumored to potentially be a thing. And for me, that's not what this is at all. This is more about, I've said all offseason that the center position is the position that they need to upgrade. It's the position that they need to fix. And you're talking about a guy that could come in here and fix that position for you, which one isn't going to cost you a lot. And the other thing I'll say, because Jamie Rivers is here now, somebody also brought up a great point. Isn't this the same conversation that was happening with Ryan O'Reilly when he was in Buffalo?
Great point.
Because minus 23 his final season in Buffalo, had a down year offensively.
Literally said he fell out of love with hockey.
He fell out of love with hockey. So when
I don't know I've ever seen anybody that loves hockey more.
So when you're on a bad team, when things are not going well, and now you're on a team that in the last couple of years has basically said, hey, we probably need to rebuild. Yeah, I can understand where Pettersson's coming from.
You know who else didn't look great with the Vancouver Canucks by the end? Quinn Hughes.
Or JT Miller.
That guy was still pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well, JT Miller, the last year before he was traded, didn't look very good for them, and he was fine when he got to New York.
Quinn Hughes, one of the best defensemen in the NHL, was a minus 10 in 26 games this year with the Vancouver Canucks, to speak to how horrible that team was. All right, Jamie Rivers.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Former Superstar Blues defenseman joining us now in studio.
I love coming on this
Superstar.
Jamie, I was listening to you guys yesterday when this news broke. I heard you guys react to the same audio that we just played, and you said, hey, I had heard kind of similar rumblings.
Yeah, some things going on
around the rink earlier
the bowels
today.
Of the arena, yes.
I know you kind of had similar thoughts to us, where it's interesting.
Well, here's the way I went with it, is for all those people who want Jordan Kyrou traded, for all those people, this is a way that it can happen. You could offer Jordan Kyrou for Elias Pettersson. As far as the money is concerned, yeah, 11.5 is a lot. But if you said to me, hey, the Blues are going to spend an extra $3 million on the cap this year coming up, or $3.5 million on the cap coming up, because cap goes up, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's not a lot. Spend extra
It's the equivalent of what $8 million was previously.
Exactly. So if you trade your $8.1 million full contract to Vancouver, you take on the full contract because that's what you want. You've added $3.5 million to your payroll.
Do you think you have to give up that much?
Jordan Kyrou?
Do you think you could just get away with, hey, prospects and picks?
I feel like could you get him for less?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe.
Given how leveraged they are, given how much say Elias Pettersson has and where he's going to go.
Yeah, but you have to think about this, is if you look around the league, where will feel more like home than here?
That's what I'm saying.
Because you got Alex Steen, you got Broberg, you've got half the Swedish national team in your pipeline. Like, you've got a lot of Swedes that he can come here and feel comfortable and know that, like, Steener's going to take care of him. I think he would thrive here.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, no,
That's why I think you pay less.
Yeah, I don't think Vancouver
because he would like
demand
to be here, and he's got a short list of teams. There aren't a lot of teams that could take on $11 million on their cap sheet to begin with.
And if Vancouver's a team right now that is going into that rebuild, I think their biggest thing would be like, let's get back into the draft and cut money off of our books.
Hey, I'm fine with that, but if you're only throwing prospects their way, I don't think you're taking on his contract. I think that if that's the case, let's say he said, we'll give
I think you get it at 8.
Fine, still.
Even 9.
That's a big bump. If nothing is coming off the books.
But then could you move one of those other pieces?
Exactly. You could make a separate move.
You could.
Where maybe Kyrou ends up in Anaheim, or Kyrou ends up in, I don't know, the Islanders, whatever. Like, there's a bunch of different directions that this thing could go, but this would be like step 1 of the offseason before you go make other moves.
The problem with that is it's just like any company, right? You have a pretty tough time predicting steps 2 and 3 if you can't get step 1 done. Or what if you get step 1 done, but then you can't move said player after?
They have money to be able to make it work right now, at least.
They do now, but
future years it gets tight.
Future years it gets tight, very tight. And
so you think Kyrou would need to be in this deal? Most likely.
I think Vancouver would want another guy who could potentially put up 60 to 80 points in that window, because that's what Pettersson's been doing. He does have a 102-point season, and he was an absolute dominant force. Even the next year, I think he had 89 points. He was dominant. If you can get that version back here, and remember the problems you had with your power play, by the way? Guess what Elias Pettersson does really, really good? Play on the power play with a one-timer.
Be nice to have. First time they've had that in a minute.
On your penalty kill, which would make that better.
Can you imagine having a Robert Thomas on one side and then Pettersson on the other side?
And Snuggerud as well.
Snuggie in front, Holloway playing bumper. Like, you've got a real serious power play at that point. So I just think
your center ice position as well, which is a huge question mark for them right now.
So somebody mentioned the other day about, acquiring another winger. I forget who it was. And I was like, why would you get another winger? Where is a winger going to play on this roster? Even if it's a really good player, are you subbing him in for Holloway? Probably.
That would have to require a move for Kyrou. Kyrou would have to go out.
Exactly, my point. So if you're not bringing in another winger because there's too much traffic, the center ice position is what you really do need. That's why all the talk around the McTavish, and now Pettersson, because that's what the Blues really need, is that second line center. And with Pettersson, that alleviates that problem for you. And if you have to move on from Kyrou, because Vancouver's going to want some scoring back. Like, even if they're in a rebuild, they're in a market that can't suck for too long.
Sure.
And the pressure's on. They've gone through 3 coaches and 2 general managers, a president of hockey. Like, it is in shambles right now in Vancouver. So that fan base needs some kind of message of, we're actually going to try here soon. But, in the meantime, we're going to have some bumps in the road. But we do have a couple of good players here.
I think Kyrou makes a lot of sense for them. And if I'm Kyrou, that's the kind of situation that I would like to go in. I know that sounds kind of weird.
Vancouver's beautiful. I know he loves it there. He talks about it all the time. We go in there, it's my favorite place to be. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Top line player for them. He could play 20 minutes a night. He's on the top power play.
That might just be the selling point. Hey, you're a top line player here.
No, for real.
But you also go to, just to play devil's advocate, you're also going to a market that doesn't want to be in a rebuild. And if you're not a great player, then you become the whipping boy.
I think they'll be happy. That fan base right now is so angry at the Pettersson situation and all of the soap opera stuff.
Yep.
If Kyrou goes there, plays just the way he does most years, gets you that 55 to 70 points, gets you that 25 to 32 goals, they'll love him. Mm-hmm. He'll walk around. He don't care. He doesn't watch TV or read it. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He'll be bopping around downtown Vancouver, whistling.
Yeah,
so that's kind of where my head went with it. I know I drag you guys.
You're fine
here, but
you know us. We don't care about the clock.
No complaining today for a clock today, by the way.
This was you. This is on you.
Yeah.
No, we got to get back on for BT. He doesn't like us being late either. Yeah. Last thing on this. If I told you, and set aside what you have to give up for them, that's obviously a huge part of the conversation. But just theoretically speaking, from the Blues' perspective, assuming each of them is around $8 million, $7 to $8 million per year on the AAV, would you rather have Shane Wright, Mason McTavish, or Elias Pettersson on the Blues?
I'm not a big Shane Wright fan. I think that guy's a dog and not in the DAWG. I don't see much there. I like McTavish.
He looks like a Lego character.
What's that?
He looks like a Lego character.
He does.
I can't get over that.
It's the Roblox head.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I call that.
Him and Nylander.
Yes, they do. And Sam Darnold, for that matter. But it's tough because the ceiling for Pettersson is way higher than all of them. But, can you get there? With Mason McTavish, I just think that he didn't have a great run in Anaheim, but he's still a 20-plus goal scorer, right? And he's young. He's super young. I would probably, for the makeup of this, I'd probably rather have McTavish.
Okay.
For the makeup, if I knew Pettersson, if I could predict the future and know what he is, I'd probably say Pettersson, because if he's an 80 to 105-point player, then it's a no-brainer. But McTavish, to me, gives you 200-foot game, center ice position, with the potential of being a 30-plus goal scorer.
I think I would go Pettersson, McTavish, Wright would be my order of those three.
Yeah, mine's Pettersson, Wright, McTavish.
Might be McTavish, Pettersson, Wright.
We're all interested in.
I was to say all
Pettersson,
of these are. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying no to it.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I find this one to be
If there
really
was one
interesting.
team that you trust to fix Pettersson or get him back on the right path, it would be Team Sweden.
Team Sweden, right here in St. Louis, by the way. Great IKEA, too.
Jamie
Love
Rivers,
IKEA.
you'll hear him today coming up at about 2:04, 2:05 here on the Fast Lane.
206 the other day. Wasn't it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you want to talk about 06? We can talk about that. There are shows around here that definitely start at that time.
What was amazing was the other day,
All three of
I
them.
turned it on to hear your guys' first segment, and I was listening to TMA.
You heard the email of the day?
Yeah, it was the email of the day. Shooter
Jamie
McGavin.
Rivers. You'll hear him today coming up at 2 o'clock. That's Alex Ferrario. He's Tanner Hendrickson, and I'm Brandon Kiley. Coming up next, what would have to happen to get Joshua Baez up to the bigs? He hit another home run last night. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell to the Royals last night 14-6. Game 2 of their 3-game set in KC is tonight. 7:15 will be first pitch. Michael McGreevy will be on the mound for St. Louis. Seth Lugo will get the start for KC. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Joshua Baez is on a tear unlike anything you'll really ever see in the minor leagues. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Joshua Baez has 17 home runs in his last 30 games. Let me repeat that. Joshua Baez, in his last 30 games played, has 17 home runs. Over the course of a full season, Alex, that would be a pace of like 80 home runs.
Sheesh.
Man, I'll take that.
That's like Aaron Judge-esque.
It's Mark McGwire.
Yeah. That is, I mean, pretty close to Barry Bonds on steroids, allegedly.
Hey, whoa.
Allegedly.
Come on, man. Come on. We're not doing that.
This is insane, what we're seeing right now from Joshua Baez. He hit another home run last night. He had 4 home runs earlier this week in a game, had another one last night, and had 1 home run a few games prior to that. He has 6 in his last 5 games. The swing and miss is there. It is something that you have to consider. Now, it's getting a little better, but it's still there. And he's not fully formed as a prospect. He's not even 23 years old just yet. This was a high school player that they drafted in the 2nd round in 2021. It took a while for him to get to where he is today, but now he looks like one of the best power-hitting prospects in the minor leagues. I continue to believe they will not and should not call him up just yet. But with every passing day, as he continues to hit more and more and more home runs, and again, 17 in his last 30, it's becoming more difficult for me to maintain that position. Where I say, just keep running out Nathan Church in center field, who, again, has been fine for the St. Louis Cardinals.
It was fun watching Velasquez watch that ball just drop to his left.
Yeah, that ain't great. Are you changing your tune at all, Alex? Are we getting to the place where you would like to see Baez get the call?
Yeah, I think I'm there now. And I hate that I'm getting there, but it's just to the point now where you just keep seeing home runs. And, you can keep saying, well, we want him to work on lowering his swing and miss and the strikeout rate. At this point, it's like the guy is doing everything you need him to do at AAA. The next step is to see what it looks like at the major league level. And there's a chance that it doesn't look good right away. And then you can have a little bit of a read on it and say, okay, now we know what you need to work on. You got an idea. Maybe you go back down after that. But at this point, and I know he's not your long-term answer at center field, to hell with it. I'll try it. And I know you're sacrificing defense for offense, but the thing about it with Baez now is you're not asking him to come up to be a savior for the team. Like, the offense is still doing fine. So you're putting him into an offense to where he's not looked at as, we need home runs from you. It's just come up and do what we think you can do. The more pressure is on the defensive side, but you don't have to keep him out at center field for every single game. You can maneuver it around like you guys discussed.
Who goes down?
Velasquez?
I think it'd probably be Torres, would be my guess today. Because I know that's a left-handed bat, but they haven't really been starting him unless they're have a multiple days off or multiple guys off in a day. It would probably be him because Velasquez still has a role against left-handed pitching.
You also have to DFA Velasquez. If you send him down now, you lose him, most likely. Whereas with Torres, he has multiple options, so you can just send him down. You don't lose anybody on the roster. I think that's probably the correct move. You do get a little more right-handed heavy, though, if you end up making that move with Baez up and Torres down. It does limit your flexibility a little more because Torres can also play anywhere. Whereas with Baez, he's exclusively an outfielder.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was thinking Velasquez, because then, Church is going to your bench in that spot. So you got the lefty there, and you're replacing Velasquez with Baez as the righty. And I don't know if Baez is playing every single day for you. You're probably playing 3 of 5 with him, 1 in center field, 1 in left, and then 1 as a DH.
He's playing every day.
He's
playing every day.
5 of 5.
Yeah. If you're bringing him up, I don't think you're sitting him.
Yeah.
Once he's up, this guy is my everyday outfielder somewhere. Yeah. Now, you can make the determination on, is that in center or is that in left? What's the plan with Newt? The Cardinals have to determine all of that, but that guy's in the lineup every day.
I would just do it at this point. I just don't know what else you're waiting for other than playing time, which right now, if there's no appetite to trade Lars Nootbaar, there is no playing time for him. You either bring him up and find different places for him to play, or you bring him up and play center field. Unless you believe you're going to trade Lars Nootbaar, and then you just wait it out until he gets that opportunity.
What do you think would be the plan? Let's go down this hypothetical scenario. I don't think it's happening this weekend.
I don't think it's happening until at least the deadline.
I still don't have him.
I wouldn't call him up. I have no issue with him staying down at AAA.
If they called him up on Monday, again, I'm with T-Bone. I don't think they are calling him up. I don't think they should, even though it's again getting hard for me to continue to say that.
I'll just quit getting on Twitter.
It's hard to. It's hard to.
How would you go about the playing time? What do you think is the best way for them to go about this? Again, if in this hypothetical world he was called up on Monday starting against the
if he's playing
Arizona
5
Diamondbacks.
straight days, I think I would have 3 of those in center field, 1 in left, and then 1 as a DH.
Yeah, I think I would go Baez in center every day when it's Herrera's DHing. And then you have Nootbaar in left. He's probably hitting 6th in the order behind Lars Nootbaar would be my guess.
Mason Wynn is now your 8-hole hitter.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think that's kind of where he belongs.
Yeah. Jimmy Crooks is the 9-hole hitter.
They actually might go Wynn at 9.
No double lead
that
off.
way you
Wynn's
don't have
9.
a major left-handed lane at the bottom.
Sense, yeah.
9.
But and then I think on days where Herrera is catching, you probably DH Nootbaar, you put Baez in left, and you put Church in center. Now, how the lineup would look then, there'd be a little bit of difference to it, but I think that's the way that you would go about it, and I think he plays there. I don't think they would DH him just because we know how hard it is on rookies to be in that DH spot, so I think they would try to avoid that.
Agreed.
But I think it would be he's in center field probably 3 out of 5, and in left for 2 out of 5.
Man. I'm kind of interested in seeing it. I don't think it would work, but
I think the danger of waiting to call him up is if the offense goes into a real cold spell and then you bring him up, then he's supposed to be the savior. And maybe the offense never goes into a cold spell. They haven't really done that yet, but
see, I don't think you put him under any pressure to be a savior. Unless you trade Nootbaar, then you put the pressure on him, because then it is we just traded away our 5-hole hitter who's 20% above league average and our replacement for him while we're in the midst of a potential playoff race. Now, maybe they fall out of it, and then it's a different conversation, but let's assume right now they don't, because they don't seem to show any signs of that. Now you just traded away a really good big leaguer, and your response is, go get him, kid. You're our 5-hole hitter now. Go do what Lars Nootbaar did.
If you're going to do this, I think you probably want to do it sooner rather than later, because if you get to the trade deadline and you haven't made this move just yet, there's at least a chance they try to add some kind of a center fielder at the deadline. I think it's unlikely, but maybe. I'd rather find out this season what Joshua Baez can do out there in center if they think that that's a real path for him at the major league level. So, I don't know, man. This is also a decent time to do it because of the pitching that you're about to come across. The Diamondbacks do not have great pitching. The Braves pitching is probably their biggest weakness right now. The Cubs pitching is atrocious. Now, yeah, you got to go up against Milwaukee, but at some point you've got a good starting staff that you're going to go up against. I would find it interesting if that's the direction that they decided to go do. I think last night you did start to see some of the issues with the defensive lineup that they're going with, especially, man, as you saw in left field. I told you Nelson Velasquez, he can be a bit of a liability out there. I think there's been a couple of plays that Blaze Jordan just hasn't made lately that maybe Nolan Gorman gets to. They're not huge, and like last night, there were a couple of them that were down the line that they would have been really difficult plays for any third baseman, but a good one probably gets to them, and Blaze just isn't that right now. He's making up for it, though, with his bat. And the hope would be the same thing could be true for a guy like Joshua Baez in center field.
Yeah, and I think you are seeing that because, like with Velasquez, he's just not a left fielder. He's just a DH type. Blaze, I think you're still fine with him at third base. I think ultimately it's a matter of how bad is your pitching looked that night than it is Blaze Jordan going to help you much. I'll also add this real quick to the Baez thing. I think they're telling you with their actions they're not calling him up to be a center fielder. He has played in right field for the last 5 games. That they're not playing him in center, and I'm assuming that game that he was in center was because Vic was off.
Yeah, Vic was off.
So that right there tells you they're not going to call him up to be a center fielder. Otherwise, they wouldn't put him in the corner.
With Blaze Jordan, though.
So here's the question.
Well, that was they had a plan, and then that plan went awry when Urias got hurt.
I guess this is the follow-up then. Do you think they would be comfortable with Newt out there in center?
No.
I don't think so.
I think they would be more comfortable playing Baez in center than Newt, because before Victor Scott was down there and before Nathan Church was on his rehab, I mean, there was Baez in center field.
I don't think they'd be comfortable with either guy in center field. I think they would rather have Fermin in center field than go with Nootbaar or Baez.
Understood, but in this scenario, the only way to make it work is if you have one of those two.
And I don't think
they're comfortable with that. I think they're sticking with Church in center field. Like I don't see a path for Baez getting called up anytime soon. And I know that sucks, but it's not the end of the world if this guy continues to just
We were
play in
saying that about
AAA.
Jimmy Crooks, man. And then all of a sudden
but
they
I
did
think-
it.
That's why I'm not completely dismissing it.
I think you could look
sure
at those,
with
though,
this
and
team.
say, okay, is Jimmy Crooks as good defensively as Pedro Paz, and can he call a good game? We think the answer is yes, and we're going to bet on his bat because Paz can't hit.
He played 28 games in the center field spot at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, but they didn't have anybody there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But now they've got Victor Scott, who they're working with, and then they had the rehab of Nathan Church. But prior to that, it was Baez playing center field.
But I don't read too much in it because there was truly nobody else there that could play center field.
Because they thought he could do it, and they said this might be his path.
I think they said, we want to get a bunch of outfielders playing time. We think, if anything, we'll try it with Baez because he's got a ceiling. And if he can play center field, then that's an added bonus. But I think as you see, as they quickly shifted him back to right, the answer was,
I don't know if it's quickly shifting to right versus this guy has to play center field when he's down in AAA for us. Victor Scott and Nathan Church.
Scott doesn't have to play center field.
If he's at the major league level, he's playing center field.
No, but my point is, if you truly believe Baez could play center field, you would be getting him more games in center field. And the fact that with Scott there, he's only done it once out of 5 games while Scott's been in the lineup tells me they just don't view him as a center fielder unless it's in a absolute pinch, and they're not at an absolute pinch at the major leagues.
I agree with that. I also think you can maximize the offense by having him in center field. Now, do they want to do that? The answer thus far has been no. Is that going to eventually come to a tipping point if he has like 20 home runs in 35 games? Is there a certain point in time where you say, this is too much to ignore? He's on such a heater right now that we need to find out how it translates to the major league level. And if the answer to that becomes yes, you will eventually have to decide who plays in center, Newt or Baez or both. Because that's the only way you can make it work at the major league level. Because those guys are both playing, if they're here, every single day. So far the answer's been no. We're not going to find out. But there's eventually going to come a point in time where you have to say, how can we keep this guy down at AAA any longer? I don't know when that day is. Maybe it's not until August 1st. Maybe it's not until September 1st. Maybe it's next week. But what we're seeing right now from Joshua Baez, I totally get it. If you're a fan and you're saying to yourself, I want to see this guy, and I want to see him now. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Ask Us Anything is next. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for Ask Us Anything. Mike McKenna joins the show in about 10 minutes from T-Dags.
T-Dags.
Guys, what's the best vacation that you can take while driving in less than 5 hours from St. Louis? My wife and I want to go to Nashville twice a year because it's a blast and no airfare.
Branson, baby. Missouri's Disney World.
Chicago's great.
I joke, but Branson's awesome.
You guys know my affinity for Memphis. Not for everybody, T-Bone. But I like Memphis a lot.
Right, T-Bone?
I know what'll come from this. I think Kansas City is a great spot to go visit for a weekend. You don't need to spend a ton more time than that, but a weekend I think is a good amount of time to spend in KC, especially if you're going to the downtown Crossroads District area. Those are probably my top spots.
Yeah, I mean, again, I know we joke about it, but like in the summertime, I get Table Rock Lake, which I think is much nicer than Lake of the Ozarks.
Agreed.
You get Top of the Rock area, which has so many cool spots right now. And then if you want to do theme parks, Silver Dollar City is not expensive and still fun. They've got water parks. They've got shopping centers. I personally enjoy it. Just like it's a quick drive. And the girls get a kick out of it when we go. So that's be the one for me.
Indianapolis, maybe. I don't think anybody said that one. That one, I've enjoyed my time there. Now I've only done like a weekend there, but I think that's probably about the right amount of time there. But I'd throw Indy into that.
For me personally, I would just rather go to KC. And maybe that's obviously my bias showing here, but I think there's more to do in Kansas City than there is in Indy. Indy is a nice spot, though.
Better barbecue in Missouri than Kansas City, am I right? What? St. Louis and Kansas City. That's what I meant to say.
You screwed that up so badly. Starvin Marvin asks, what would your trade package be for Pettersson with retention and without retention? Without retention, I think you have to send a contract back. Because at $11 million, that's just a lot long term. So that's probably where you end up, as Jamie said, with Jordan Kyrou going.
But I personally just don't think Kyrou's accepting a trade there, nor do I think anybody that's got a no-trade clause, because I think anybody on this team wants to try and compete, and you're not doing that there, even if you like the place. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I would say with Kyrou, I think it's more likely that he accepts a deal there.
Yeah, I think neither, but Kyrou, of the two of them, I'd say Kyrou more than Pavel Buchnevich.
being the other that you're thinking
about. With retention.
First round pick?
Yeah, I think they'd probably want 15. I'd try and talk them into 29.
29 plus a prospect.
I would go like 29 and Lucas Fisher, 29 and Colin Ralph, 29 and Kaskamaki, maybe two of the three Pekarchik, like a lower level prospect. I've seen people bring up Dalibor Dvorsky. You're not trading Dalibor Dvorsky for Elias Pettersson. They want to get rid of Pettersson. You're not giving them something you want for Pettersson.
I do think if you're going to put in more of a lower tier prospect, like those names that you said, I do think it would take 15 because they're eating that money then for, what, 6 years?
It's only $3 million, though, and they're getting out of the $8 million.
I mean, they're eating it for a long period of time. I think they would require 15.
But they're saving 8. Which, from that clip we played, like their ownership wants to get out of these big contracts right now. They're saving 8 for the next 6 years.
It would also depend on how many teams Pettersson's willing to go to. That could actually make a deal for him.
Well, that's the other thing, because when the reports were out there at the deadline this year, like Pettersson basically said, I don't want to go. So, like, they've got to find a team that he's willing to go to before you can even worry about it. And that's very difficult with a no move. At least with the no trade, you can negotiate. No move, I mean, there's nothing. It's basically like, where do you want to go? Because that's where we got to move.
And if he says, here are the 3 to 5 teams that I'm willing to go to, and 2 of those teams can't take him on because of the cap situation.
Which is what a lot of those guys do.
Because the only way they could make it work is if they send back a bad contract of theirs, and Vancouver says, we're not taking on that bad deal. Well, now you're down to like 1 or 2 teams that you can negotiate with. And that's where they have no leverage in these negotiations. So, yeah, they might want 15, T-Bone. I'm in agreement with you. That's probably what the ask would be. If I'm Army/Steen, I would say shove it. Okay, go ahead. Find somebody else that's going to give you a better deal than 29.
And that paid off for them with Matthew Tkachuk, as we remember.
If you can find somebody, that was different. There was no moving.
It's essentially a no move, though.
Basically. But they had multiple teams that were willing to negotiate. If they can find a team that's willing to offer them more than 29, come back to us and we'll talk. I'd be surprised if they can find it.
Yeah.
From the 636, when you go on a road trip, do you prefer to listen to good music as a playlist or a good podcast?
Music when my wife's awake, podcast when she's asleep.
100% the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, first I've had that in my head when he said that.
Because my kids have to have music, and Katie likes to listen to music with me, but then they're out probably within 45 minutes of driving, and then I listen to podcasts.
I'm typically like...
We're the exact same way.
Yeah.
I'm typically a podcast I can't probably do more than one. I'll probably do one podcast and then listen to music the rest of the trip. Because then I start to get kind of bored.
From the 314, what's the ideal Father's Day look like for you? Sleep in a little bit.
Yep.
Go on a run. And then hang out with a little man in the fam.
Man, I'm doing it this weekend. I'm getting to golf with my dad on Saturday, which is something that we do every year. Sunday, I told Katie, I don't want to do anything. I want to sleep in. We're going to go to church. I'm smoking a brisket all day.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's nice out, we're going to be able to swim a little bit and then just hang out with the girls. And then
Perfect.
Katie and I just hang out at night. I told her, I said, she goes, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't want to go anywhere. Happy Father's Day.
I think that's a lot of dads. My dad would always say, well, I'm just going to grill at home.
Dude, that's
and,
what my dad, I told my
sit
dad,
around
I said,
the patio and read or something.
I said, I'm smoking a brisket. Come over. He goes, I don't want to leave my house.
Cool. Fair. I get it.
Me too, man.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone MBK, Mike McKenna, former NHL goalie, joins us next here on 101 ESPN. Always love our Friday conversations with Mike McKenna, the former NHL goalie. He joins us via the Collier and Thompson hotline on behalf of Macadoodles out in Darden Prairie. We'll get to that with him here in just a little bit. But, Mike, we got some, legitimately interesting speculation today here on the show. Want to get your thoughts on the report that we heard yesterday from Vancouver radio. Apparently, the Blues are kicking the tires on centerman, 27 years old, former 100-point producer, Elias Pettersson. Now, he has not been that player over the past couple of years. He's also signed for $11 million over the next 6 seasons. What are your thoughts on the possibility of the Blues acquiring Elias Pettersson, Mike?
Man, I still like Dylan Larkin, and it's great to hear from you guys today. The thing about Pettersson is he does still have it in him to be a completely game-changing player. He can be absolutely unbelievable, and he can be also maddeningly frustrating. and that, to the Blues fan base here, sounds a little bit familiar, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So on one hand, I think this is a guy, and mind you, we were teammates for 3 days, guys. I got to see him play 2 games, right? So, I mean, you want insider information, you got it here. I did see him score a hat trick in a period and a half to help us beat the Ottawa Senators.
Mike, you're not selling this well.
The team that traded me that morning, he won that game. I was very happy to win that game. That cap hit is pretty scary, for sure. But I'm not as scared of the cap hit in today's world as I am what his production has looked like the last 2 games. Because Elias Pettersson was a guy you expected to score 40 goals in this league, routinely. Like 35, 40, that's how he's been trending. And then the last 2 years, it really fell off. 15 goals apiece. For a centerman that you expect to do that is just not what's supposed to be there. Now, kind of the flip side of this is that team in Vancouver has been an utter mess, like a complete mess. And the GM there previously wasn't really the GM. The president of the team was really the GM, and it got all jumbled up. JT Miller was in the mix. These two didn't jive with one another at all. I'm not sure if – I'll put it this way. Let's simplify this. If Elias Pettersson came with an $8 million cap hit, I'd be all over this. At 11-6, I think it's too big of a risk for the Blues. The problem is when the Blues are trying to desperately find a centerman that can be a game changer and would actually eat up crazy minutes for the team, who's it going to be? You have to at least kick the tires and see what this would look like, because you also don't know how willing Vancouver would be to get off of this contract if they're trying to change things or rebuild or do whatever they want in that city. So at the right price, maybe you consider this. I would not consider Pettersson to be a slam dunk solution for the Blues.
So, Mike, change of scenery is the first thing people will bring up with Pettersson. Can that benefit him? Comfort with Alexander Steen, who has to be familiar with him because of the Swedish background. How much should people buy into that from a hockey perspective?
It's real. I think you can look at what's been going on lately with some of these teams in the NHL.
Dallas.
Yeah, well, not just Dallas, but look at the team that just won the Stanley Cup with a coach and management that people believe in. Rod Brindamore.
Oh, sorry, I was looking for the countryman. I apologize.
Again.
Look at Montreal with another coach that they believe in and a general manager who, as a former agent, really knows these players. But ultimately, comfortability doesn't solve things. So, again, Pettersson is an $8 million player. You consider it at this price point. If it's the full cap hit, boy, you better get an absolute steal in the draft or a steal in the trade because, the salary cap is rising, guys. We have to remember that. Darren Radish is going to get 8 by 8, a defenseman who before was making like almost league minimum. He's going to get $64 million because the salary cap's going so high. So. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Just give me Dylan Larkin, boys. That's what I want.
the price in terms of the acquisition cost would be certainly much higher for Dylan Larkin as well. But I'm with you. The $11 million is scary. It's real. It's $6 million or 6 years remaining in term. And there's a full no move clause, which is not something that we've dealt with here in St. Louis either. So there's a lack of flexibility. I wanted to ask you another piece of this conversation. We talked with Jamie Rivers in studio earlier today, and he mentioned, hey, if you're not going to have them take down some of the contract, one way to make it more palatable is to get rid of one of your big contracts. And he brought up, do you do a Kyrou for Pettersson swap? Is that something that you would entertain if you were in Steen/Army's shoes?
Yes, because the Blues don't need a glut of wingers that can score. They need a center desperately. To me, that's an upgrade. If you're even just looking at the goal scoring, even with Pettersson being down the last year or two, I think if he goes to the Blues and a better team, guys, he's not a 50-point player. I think he instantly goes right back to being an 80-point player. I do believe that. That would make him a $9 million or $10 million player, which if you're at 11.6 and as the salary cap goes up, that starts to become palatable. So, and that's where I think it would come down to, is moving off of a contract to make it work. I mean, Vancouver's not going to pay for that contract to go away. What makes you nervous as the Blues is that if you acquire this contract, let's face it, at 11.6, you're probably not buying this out at any point.
No.
Like, you will be stuck with this for the next 6 years, no matter what. So it's a gamble. But it's something Alex Steen's going to have to really think about.
On the defensive side, Mike, we've talked about adding an established defenseman, and I know you brought up Brett Kulak in the past, but Bo Byram's name pops back up again in the rumor mill, and that's another area that I know the Blues are interested in this past offseason. Do you revisit that conversation, or do you remain focused on the center position like we've been talking about?
Both. I think that if you just focus solely on one position, you're selling the team short because they need both of those. And those are diametrically opposite players between a Brett Kulak and a Bowen Byram. Kulak, you know what you're going to get for minutes. He's going to be steady as can be. Life's going to be easy with him. He's smooth skating. He's going to put up his token, 30 points. Byram's a guy who everybody has always expected as a top draft pick to be a guy who's going to be 50, 60 points as a D. It hasn't happened yet for whatever reason. He's been a responsible player. He's a good defender. He has decent size, but okay. I really like the player. I think there's still more there. So if you can get in on Byram, again, with a moving cap, you can make that work. It's just you're going to have to give something up for him. And you're going to have to give up really tangible assets to get a player like that. And you have to decide, will Bo Byram be a foundational player for us? Or do we want to go for a stopgap with somebody like a Brett Kulak?
All right, last follow-up on this. We're talking to Mike McKenna here on 101 ESPN. If I told you all of these players are roughly $8 million in terms of the AAV, obviously there's differences in what you'd have to give up for them, but assuming that the cap hit at least is relatively similar, how would you rank the possible center acquisitions that have been rumored to be available this offseason? Shane Wright, Elias Pettersson, Mason McTavish. How would you rank those three for the St. Louis Blues, assuming that Pettersson's contract comes down a bit and Wright's contract ends up kind of being in line with those two guys if he signs an extension?
Pettersson, McTavish, Wright. I don't know with Wright what to expect. With McTavish, you've seen glimpses that are pretty good, and there's potential there. With Pettersson, you know what he can do. And I'm trying to keep contractual stuff out the window because the Blues need the best player they can get at that position. So if they have to move a mountain to get up against the cap or to get below the cap with doing Pettersson and hoping it works, even with that scary of a cap hit, I think there's more there. We've seen it. We know what he can do compared to a McTavish or a Wright who still have upward trajectory. It's more of a gamble, but I think you're looking for foundation. And I still, again, I gave you all the reservations I had about Pettersson.
No doubt.
I still think he is, at this moment, if you're choosing between those three, you would definitely be headed towards Pettersson if you could pull it off.
All right, last hockey question that we've got for Mike McKenna here on 101 ESPN. Mike, the big news in the NHL coaching-wise, John Tortorella is out as the head coach after, 30 games, only 8 of which were in the regular season with the Vegas Golden Knights. They're going with their old AHL head coach to replace him behind the bench. What'd you make of this? You have a history with that organization. You were able to be around them for a number of years. What'd you make of the decision to move on from Torts and to go with their AHL coach instead?
Yeah, I think this decision was done a long time ago, guys. And I can tell you exactly why. Tortorella was a placeholder. He was going to come in. We need to wake our team up by firing Bruce Cassidy. We need to punch our team in the face. And who better to do it than John Tortorella? And I think Torts was probably eyes wide open to this, that it was a limited span, because the Vegas Golden Knights have been grooming Ryan Craig to be their head coach since 2017 when they hired him as the assistant coach. I played with Ryan Craig in Tampa Bay, in Springfield, and Columbus. He was the captain in 2 of those 3 stops. He was a lifelong captain in the American League. Very good hockey player, very good hockey mind. He has not had much success, though, at the American League level. The team just made the playoffs for the first time. But I don't think that matters to Kelly McCrimmon, the GM of the Vegas Golden Knights, who has known Ryan Craig since he played for the Brandon Wheat Kings in the Western Hockey League, which was owned and managed by Kelly McCrimmon. So the Manitoba Mafia is in full effect here, and it's great for Craig. He deserves this. I do believe he is a quality coach, but there's zero doubt in my mind that the moment they decided they've had enough of Bruce Cassidy, we're going to Ryan Craig next year. We just need somebody to tide us over. Let Krager do the playoffs. He's coming in. He's going to be our guy. This is Kelly McCrimmon's guy. He's been like that since 1997. They've known each other, guys. 97, we're talking. So 30 years of background between those two. Congrats to Krager. And another one of our old teammates also is Vinny Prospel. That was with the Lightning at the same time as Ryan Craig. He just got hired by the Blues as an assistant. Yeah. So super exciting. Great hockey mind with Vinny Prospel. Fantastic hockey player. So excited to see him behind the bench for the Blues as well.
All right, Mike, what can people expect this weekend as they go over there to Macadoodles in Dardenne Prairie?
Well, up here at the beverage store, because we do have THC beverages, we've got all kinds of alcohol. We have non-alcoholic beverages. We have Busch Light line. We had a bundle this morning that was 4 Roses, our barrel pick, single barrel, and a bottle of Weller 107 for $159.97. Well, those 10 went out the door in 3 minutes. So that didn't last long. We were happy to see the customers, but we're running a special this weekend. We've got 15% off all scotch this weekend for Father's Day in celebration. We also have Woodford Reserve down at $22 and Crown Royal at $23 and great deals. Word of the day, well, it's Tyler. You know what it is? If you walk in and say Tyler, you actually don't get anything other than a crispy high five. But I can tell you this, there will be some other allocated items that hit the shelves tomorrow and on Sunday at random times throughout the day. Don't expect those at 9 a.m. They will be placements throughout the day, but we will have some more 4 Roses bundles as well. So come see us. We're just north of the Page Extension at the corner of Bryden and Feisey Road out here in Dardenne Prairie.
Mike, always great to catch up with you, man. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Love it, guys. You guys have a good one. Everybody be safe. Happy Father's Day.
Thanks, Mike. That's too, Mike buddy. McKenna. Happy Father's Day to him. Appreciate his time as always. We'll be joined by Brad Thompson coming up in about 15 minutes on BK and Ferrario. Coming up next, Alex, you mentioned the defenseman conversation. Bowen Byram potentially out there once again in negotiations. Apparently, the Chicago Blackhawks are one of the teams that is interested in him. Another new name that has emerged in the conversations of potential defenseman conversation. And ESPN.com put together a mock trade for Colton Parayko. Would this be enough for you to move on from the Blues' number 1 D man? We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. ESPN.com had a piece earlier today. The title was Let's Make a Deal, projecting 6 different trades we'd like to make this offseason.
And I saw it and was like, yes, please.
One of them included Colton Parayko going to the Anaheim Ducks, Alex.
I was like, well, this is obvious, guys. They're going to get Mason McTavish, and it's a deal that's interesting to me.
In this mock trade, the Blues got 2027 first-round pick. No, not 26. 2027 first-round pick.
So back half of the draft pick.
And a defenseman that was a first-round selection in 2024 for the Anaheim Ducks, who was not particularly good last year for them in the minors.
No.
So you got a prospect and a 2027 first-round pick, and the Anaheim Ducks get Colton Parayko. Is that enough for you to move on from Parayko, Alex?
Absolutely not. Look at what Buffalo offered them at the deadline that they agreed to. That was a top 10 selection in the draft on top of another first-round pick. And that first-round pick, was probably back half of the draft, which I think Buffalo's selecting at like 20 in this year's draft. But still, they were getting a guy who was selected 8th overall. And the retort in this one is you get a first-round pick in next year's draft, probably the same area as Buffalo was, and a guy that was selected 23rd overall? No, those are not the same draft, or those are not the same compensation for Colton Parayko. So I think the Blues would hang up and laugh on that offer from Anaheim.
From the 217, how can you guys continue to talk about needing a defenseman and also trading Parayko, who's on the team-friendly contract in the same breath? It's not so much us. The Blues traded Parayko at the deadline.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They chose to do that. That happened, and it was up to Parayko as to whether or not he was going to Buffalo, and he said no. So this is not a Alex and BK decision. This is the St. Louis Blues told you the direction that they would like to go in on the blue line. They were also deep in negotiations for Bowen Byram last offseason. Again, that happened. That is not us making stuff up. That has been well reported and well sourced. So the reason that we continue to bring these things up is because it's real.
Yeah.
And if the Blues are going to have conversations like this, we're going to discuss it here on the show. But the reason why they would potentially make moves like that is because they want to get younger. Parayko may not fit into their timeline that they believe makes sense for them. Parayko's 33 years old. A guy like Bowen Byram is in his mid-20s. So you could get another 5 really good years. You may just be getting to the prime for, again, a player like Bowen Byram. Meanwhile, with Parayko, you're probably entering or leaving the prime right now.
Yeah.
So that's why it would make sense in their eyes.
And I think, the Byram name comes up. I'm not trading Parayko to get Byram. I'm adding Byram to the core of the team. The Parayko trade stuff keeps coming up because, look, Anaheim is a team that's not getting Carlson back, not getting Jacob Trouba back. The free agent class is not great now that Darren Radish has signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, so the market's not there. So everybody needs defensemen, and they're calling because Parayko is a top pair. Why did Nyes' name pop up? Well, because the Blues have a top pair defenseman that they could float for him. The only way Parayko is being traded is if it upgrades the Blues going into next season and beyond.
See, I don't know that it's about next season. Like the move that they would have made with Buffalo, I don't think you get better next year by making that move. It's a defenseman that's a prospect plus a first-round pick. That's for the next 5 years or the next 10 years.
But I think he's on the team next year. Now, it's not making you a playoff contender.
I'm not sure that it's a guarantee he's on the team next year. I do think it's the situation where he would eventually fit into your long-term plans. So you would have Broberg and Jiricek and the guy they were going to get, Mertka, from the Buffalo Sabres. Those guys are all fitting into your top 4 in some capacity for the next decade is the hope. Parayko does not. So I think that's the way that they would view it. This is not about upgrading for right now. You're not getting better in return for Parayko for right now. You're hoping 5 years from now that guy's better.
I agree with that. I think at the deadline it was that way. But now, like, if you talk about what teams are offering up for Colton Parayko, like they're looking for an NHL player or a top prospect that can fight for one of those roster spots. You're right. It's not making you better now because, to me, no matter what you get in return, if you're trading Colton Parayko, your defense is going to be bad next year. But you're making this move because you say we need to lock up the core where we're at and make sure that that's locked into place moving forward.
You could also have multiple moves. This is where the creativity comes in, right? And we've had this on a rundown for like a week and we haven't gotten to it. But the possibility of Alex Steen really putting his stamp on this team. It could happen this offseason.
Yeah.
Where maybe you do trade Parayko somewhere, and then you go get Bo Byram, and you get a prospect that's a defenseman in return for Parayko, and you've got Bo Byram. So now you have Lindstein, you have Broberg, you have Jiricek, you have Byram, and you've got this defenseman prospect, and maybe you select a defenseman at 11. Well, you've completely overhauled your defensive core for 2028 probably, and you now have all of them locked in for the long term. That's the kind of thing you could see this offseason. How likely is any of that? Hard to say, but that's a possibility. The other guy that I wanted to get your quick thoughts on here, Alex, because this is somebody whose name has really come up within the last 24 hours or so. Apparently, speaking of the Anaheim Ducks, they are putting a new name potentially onto the market via trade. That player is Radko Gudas, who's 36 years old. He is a UFA, so this would be a sign-in trade, right?
No, this would just be like trading his rights to sign before free agency.
Kind of similar to what just happened with Radish. Is he somebody you're interested in? He's 36. This is not a young player who fits into the Blues timeline, theoretically.
He's somebody that if he's interested and he's not going to cost a lot, I would be curious about, because to me, it's a good leader because he's been with the Florida Panthers and he was the captain of the Anaheim Ducks. He brings that nastiness to his game, and he's a right shot defenseman who I think once you're talking about that third pair, yes, you have Jiricek and Mayu and potentially Parayko, but that's the veteran presence that the Blues talked about that they'd lack. To me, I think he's going to be too expensive in terms of, like, we're probably talking $4+ million. And if I'm the Blues, I'm not paying that for a 36-year-old defenseman. But if his price drops a little bit and you're trying to put some veteran presence on your team, hey, somebody that I'd definitely be interested in for the roster.
I would say this. If the Blues make the trade that we're talking about with Parayko, and they do not make another deal for somebody like a Bo Byram, that's how I could convince myself that Gudas makes sense. And in that scenario, he's not a third pair defenseman for me. He's a top 4 defenseman.
Yeah. Well, and see, before I'd go to Gudas, if I'm trading Parayko, I'd actually go to a former Anaheim Duck who's also a free agent. I'd sign Jacob Trouba.
Either way.
32 years old, he's going to be more expensive, but to me, I think he's just in a better position that could do that spot.
I think the difference is the term. Yeah. With Trouba, I think you're probably getting for a longer term.
Probably.
With Gudas, he could be truly a stopgap option.
Yeah, 1 or 2 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I could see how it would make some sense in that scenario, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only way that I think it makes sense for the Blues. If Parayko's on this roster, I don't think it makes sense at all, personally.
Yeah.
But if he's not, if they were to make this move within the next week, I think it would be an indication to me that they're planning to trade Colton Parayko, and it's a matter of where, not if.
Yeah, as I'm looking at it now, in the world where Parayko is not traded, the area you're looking to upgrade is the left shot defenseman, which is why Byram's interesting. If you're trading Parayko, you are replacing Parayko with another right shot defenseman. So it comes down to where Parayko is going to land. I personally still believe Parayko's just going to be here. For $6.5 million, you're not going to find a better deal for a guy that can do what he can do.
News coming in from Kevin Weeks. According to sources, Kevin Weeks is told that the Buffalo Sabres are working on a new contract extension for Benson, forward in their group, coming off of a solid regular season and big playoffs, expected to be around 7 years, worth $7 million per year.
What's interesting about that is that's probably a good framework of what you could potentially sign Jimmy Snuggerud to. Now, Benson's not as good of a goal scorer than what I think Snuggerud is. But, I mean, Benson just had 43 points and was a plus 27 for them in his third full season. I think you're probably talking at...
That is wild.
Yeah. He only scored 13 goals.
Yeah.
He's only been a 13-goal scorer. Now, he's great defensively for him, was very good in the postseason for him. I think that at least has given you an idea of, like, when you talk Jimmy Snuggerud contract extension, north of $8 million.
Yep. You're talking about Holloway.
Yeah.
Holloway probably. Money or more.
And I wonder if they try
it's a long-term deal.
I wonder if they try and match it with Holloway. Just say, look, we're going to go 7.75 with you.
Kyron Thomas.
Yeah, we're going to just put 6 years on you, 7.75 mil, and just keep everybody where you're at.
I do wonder if they're going long-term with Benson, $7 million a year. You're starting to get expensive on the forward side of things. Is this another indication that either Owen Power or Bo Byram is not for long in Buffalo?
They're going to be moving a defenseman, and my guess is they want a top 6 forward back in return because they don't believe they're going to re-sign Alex Tuck.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. Brad Thompson next.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Cardinals fell to the Royals last night 14-6. Game 2 of their 3-game set in KC is tonight. 7:15 will be first pitch. Michael McGreevy will be on the mound for the Cardinals. Seth Lugo gets the start for KC. And breaking news out of the World Cup, Christian Pulisic is out for USA's game today against Australia. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
A lot of time to kill in the Cardinals game last night out in Kansas City. Brad Thompson was on the call for it. He joins us now via the Callier and Thompson hotline. We always enjoy our weekly conversations with our guy BT. What's good, man? How you doing today?
Fellas, I'm doing great, man. I am back in sunny St. Louis. Made the overnight drive back. Apple game today, day off Saturday, so figured might as well head back to the Lou. So life is good.
I'm going to switch paths with you. Yeah, I'm doing what used to be like the old Memphis shuttle for you, BT, where like you go one way, another guy's going the other direction. I'm going to KC later on this afternoon.
Are you really? Look at us go. Look at us go. Yeah, I know the Memphis shuttle very well. It's all about road trip snacks. If you can bring the right ones, you're good to go.
Any advice on the road trip with a 2-year-old?
Oh, yeah.
Don't do it.
And at least there's no construction the entire way.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
There's construction the entire way. Yes, that's correct.
And on the plus side, at least the World Cup is taking place this weekend in Kansas City, so I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, which will be totally fine. Yeah, it'll be great. You guys have a safe trip up. Putting a few miles on the vehicle, but totally worth it.
All right, BT, let's talk about what we saw last night. Or we can continue talking about the World Cup coverage if you prefer.
KC, I think.
Libby, what's going on here, BT?
Well, look, if I had that answer, I'd have a bigger office and probably a bigger paycheck when it comes to those things. Look, it comes down to, like, it was very weird in that ball game yesterday where generally if you have a game like that, I might look and be like, man, he's tipping, like he's giving away something. And I'm sure that they look into that and will look into that, and I'll talk to Ollie and Dusty about that moving forward. But the problem is, like, when you think about, okay, was this guy tipping his pitches? Yeah, you had a ton of extra base hits. Everything was barreled. Every fastball was hit hard. But also, like, you go back and look where these pitches are. They're up. They're middle. Like, they're hittable. So it comes down to execution or lack thereof from Matthew Liberatore yesterday. Like, that's the big issue, is he just didn't execute his pitches where he had to, and that's kind of been a bit of a struggle as of late. While we've seen the strikeout numbers jump up, and we showed the graphic over his last 7 starts, I mean, the strikeout rate has jumped, almost doubled, really. But strikeouts are great, but you still have to be getting the other outs as well. So, look, I don't have the answer to it with Matthew Liberatore. I think it's part of the learning process. He's going to have to work through these things, and they're absolutely going to give him the leeway to do so. But it sucks, man. That's a helpless feeling when you end up having an inning like that, and certainly a run like that.
Well, you kind of alluded to it, BT, but my next question was just, where do you think the Cardinals go with him? Do you think they just continue down this path with Liberatore, or does the leash start to get a little bit shorter if the struggles continue?
Yeah, I think that you have to. I think that you have to continue to give him that leeway in the rotation, because remember, again, with this year is about next year, and it's about the year after. And if you go and pull Libby out of this rotation, look, I feel like you're going to be grasping at straws what it looks like next. I mean, your first answer might be Hunter Dobbins, right? Bring Dobbins in. He'll be good. Yes, like I like Dobbins as well. But then what, right? Like you start to test your depth a little bit earlier than you want to. I still think you provide him the opportunity to work through it. You don't want to test your depth early, too, when you haven't even, knock on wood, dealt with an injury in your rotation, which we know inevitably, like, those things pop up. So if your goal is the future, if your goal is working forward, I think that you still let him work through these things and kind of see how he grows throughout the process.
I think that's probably the right way to go about it. I do wonder, now this is one of those things where I'm very curious your perspective on it, BT. He's been working with Pedro Paez for the entirety of the season. He's the one guy that's really had that opportunity. Would you consider going to Jimmy Crooks with Matthew Liberatore last time? You mentioned it was an execution issue much more so than a game-calling issue, but would you try changing something here with him?
Yeah, I don't think that Pedro is not an issue when it comes to Matthew Liberatore, but I wouldn't be hell-bent on keeping those two together all the time either. Like, if I thought that there was a better setup that helps your ball club, whether it be from an offensive standpoint or whatever, like if you think your best lineup on a given day is Crooks behind the plate and you think the matchup is good, now obviously the matchup last night worked out well with Paez behind the plate with a lefty Noah Camera on the mound, like that was perfect. But no, I wouldn't hesitate to put somebody else behind the plate, but I definitely don't lay any of the struggles of Libby at the feet of Pedro Paez.
So on the offensive side of things, BT, as Cardinals fans continue to do, Joshua Baez is at the top of everybody's mind because all he does is hit home runs in AAA. From a Cardinals perspective, BT, are they getting to the point where it's too hard to overlook what he's doing in Memphis and say we've got to find a spot for him because they've already kind of laid that precedent with guys like Nathan Church back up over Victor Scott or Jimmy Crooks over Pedro Paez?
I don't think so. I think that having depth and having options is a good thing. Now, look, when you're dropping bombs like he does, what do you have, 24 home runs now in the minor league? That's
17
crazy.
17 in his last 30 games, BT.
If you like that sort of thing, if you're into power and amazing numbers, yeah, those things are eye-popping. But it's still keeping the depth, keeping a guy that he's still 22, right? Turns 23 very soon, I'm pretty sure. For him having his first real breakout year, and he made some huge strides last year. I mean, this is the breakout season. I don't think you have to rush that. Now, if you keep going through the season here in middle of June right now, there's a whole lot of baseball left, and your outfield, one of your corners gets hurt. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen, but if it does, that's an easy call. Or somebody who you give a long runway to scuffles, then yeah, if he's still doing his thing. But I don't think that you have to speed up your timeline because he's doing what you're doing. That is a guy that is going to continue to grow where he's at. And while, just like other Cardinal fans, man, I'd love to see him. I'd love to hear the news. He gets called up, you plug him in the lineup. But I don't think that there's an urgency or just a rush to do so.
We're talking to Brad Thompson here on 101 ESPN. Appreciate his time as always. All right, BT, before we get you out of here, I did want to ask you about Dustin May, who's been spectacular basically ever since that second start that he had for the Cardinals. Has really turned it around, has been legitimately one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball since then. Is this a guy you could see fitting into the Cardinals' future plans? You talked about it earlier. This is as much about next year as it is this year. He's on a one-year deal. Could you see him sticking around a little bit longer if he continues to pitch like this?
Man, there's so many different ways to look at it, right? And without having any intimate knowledge of how they're looking at his position, the way that I would say, first of all, just a pitcher himself, could I see him being a part of the future for the Cardinals? Absolutely. Look what he's doing right now. The numbers, to your point, you throw out those first two outings, dude, it's been amazing. And he's got an element that they needed, which is stuff in the rotation with swing and miss. Yes, that guy absolutely fits. Now you have to continue to think about what is your plan going forward. Is it to utilize pieces like him to get building blocks for the future? I would think that coming into the season, maybe that was a thought with May. A trade deadline, you move him for some pieces that help you in the future. Maybe you solidify your bullpen or whatever they're looking for. How much do you change the way that you look at things? And I guess another question is for Chaim Bloom and company is, can you do both, right? Could you, yes, he's a fit. Talking to Dustin, he loves St. Louis. He loves the vibe. He loves being here. Could it be one of those situations where, and again, totally spitballing here, but you do trade him and you trade him and let him know, hey, dude, we love what you're doing. We would love you to be a part of things in the future. And then you come back and sign him in the offseason. That is something that you could absolutely do and then still get the prospect capital in a trade. So you have some options, but what he's doing right now is everything and more that the Cardinals had hoped he was going to do. Which way do you guys lean with it? Like, what would you do with May currently?
BT, I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm a Royals fan, so I really value getting to the playoffs because I haven't seen it a whole lot in my lifetime for my team.
Gotcha.
But that being said, like as the backdrop here, I wouldn't sell if this team's in a playoff spot. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going out and like buying Tarek Skubal, but I would keep the guys that you have internally, QO, Dustin May in the offseason, see if he's willing to come back either for that or on an extension and kind of play this thing out a little bit. But that's my personal perspective on it.
Well, and I'm curious for you too, BT, like what they've done this season has just been fun to watch. Do you think if you're in the front office, though, that the beginning of July is where you really evaluate what you have as a team and say, okay, this is the direction they're pointing us in?
All you got to do is play against Atlanta, Chicago, and Milwaukee.
For 5.
Dude, and I think you laid it out perfectly. Like, your team, you still know what you have. Yes, these guys are playing great baseball, but is this team ready to win a World Series, right? That is the question that you're probably asking yourself as you're approaching the deadline. And look, everybody's answer might be different on this one. We all know anything can happen if you get in. We've all heard the cliche, seen the cliche play out. But I do think when you get closer to the deadline, there will be more of an evaluation. But I don't think that you ever deviate from your overall game plan of planning towards the future. Like, and again, not knowing what Heim is thinking about doing, just knowing what this nucleus look like, how they've been able to build up their minor league system, how they've been able to get prospect capital and continue to want to do so. I would think that they would be inclined to stick with that, to be able to continue to utilize the pieces that you have, trade some of those at the deadline, and bolster you for the future. But the more pressure that this team can put on the front office, the better they're playing, the more emotional you tend to get. And there is a way to do both. There is a way to trade pieces off and then still add for the future. Creativity is key, but it's going to be a really interesting first year at the helm for Chaim Bloom.
BT off tonight. It's an Apple TV presentation this evening, and Spilly will be on with us, who's going to be on the call for that one coming up here in about 15 minutes. BT, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy your Father's Day this weekend. We'll talk with you again next week.
Dude, happy Father's Day to you, gentlemen, as well. Safe travels to KC. Until the Philly goat, I said hello.
Will do. That's our guy, Brad Thompson, joining us as he does each and every week here on BK and Ferrario. Man, it would be so deflating if they make a sell-off at the deadline. I understand it. I can easily come on here and sell why they should do that. It's not a hard thing to do.
I'm not going to mince words. I would not.
I would be so disappointed if that's the direction that they decide to go.
I totally get the disappointment, but I get it. Like, Chaim Bloom's got a direction, and if you're trying to stick to the plan, you want to make sure that you do justice so that you build that long-term contender.
I will say this. They better win. If he does that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this year, but like if they decide to punt on this season and then this team does not become a World Series contender, I mean a legit contender in the next couple of seasons.
Yeah. You're playing with fire. It's weird to say that a general manager might be having a make or break season in his first season with the Cardinals, but yeah, if you sell because you're telling people that my goal is to build a consistent World Series contender, and you're not a consistent World Series contender, well, welcome to being hated.
It just puts more pressure on the future, right? Like
especially if the Dodgers don't win the World Series.
Oh,
think of that too. If the Brewers go on to win the World Series,
or it's a wild card team, like a team that I don't know took your spot in the playoffs,
the Phillies or the Nationals. Yeah. Nationals. That was a joke. Sorry, that won't happen.
What?
Yeah, the Diamondbacks, Padres,
pitching better than Libby,
Marlins, somebody like that ends up going on a run.
That's where people would really get upset.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up next, the Junk Drawer here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. All right, you both apparently have something today for the junk drawer. We also have to get to Ryan Spilborghs coming up here in about 5 minutes. So, Alex, we'll do this quickly. What do you got for us?
I was just going to ask you guys, I heard this on a podcast yesterday. Would you rather know when or how you're going to die?
How? I don't want to know a date or a time because then I will just be like counting down from that.
But yeah, I don't know. Both those suck. I guess how, but then like it'd be something like car crash, and I'd never want to leave my house again.
That's why I would rather know when, because I want to know and I can prepare for it and enjoy everything. If I know how,
what if you know when and you're like, I don't know, one of your daughters is not yet married, and you know, like I'm never going to see my daughter get married.
But it gives me my chance. Like it would be awful, but it gives me the chance to film something or write letters and make sure that I make everything good for them throughout the rest of their life. Like I can plan for it. If I know how, car crash is a perfect example. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know I'm going to get into a car crash and die. Every time I drive, it may be 20 years from now. Every time I drive, I'm going to be worried about it.
Man, see, I'm the opposite. If I know the date, I will be anxious for the rest of my life because of that date.
I want to know when so that I can plan and make sure I like it. And it's a great advice to try and live life like you're going to die tomorrow. But if I know it's 15 years from now, I'm going to make the next 15 years enjoyable for my family.
It's a country song. T-Bone, what do you got for us today?
Road,
guys, I was curious if you would ever do this, if you were going to a festival, for example.
I'd never go to a festival.
Olivia Rodrigo was on a podcast and said some of her fans
this is disgusting.
often wear diapers to keep their front row
That's
spots
disgusting.
at concerts.
That's
and she
disgusting.
said she can smell them while performing. Apparently, this is a big deal. Yeah. And Ryder and I were talking about this yesterday. There's like even a company that will sell diapers for you if you were to go to a festival so you could have front row and never have to leave.
It's disgusting.
I'm saying this.
I would never do that.
I'm saying this with all due respect. You're a loser if you do that.
I'm not willing to go there.
I will go there.
You do whatever you want to do. I can't do that.
You
That's
do whatever you want to do.
me.
No, have some decency for the people around you. I don't want to have you smelling like crap because you want a great spot in the concert.
This is just my guess, Alex. If you're going to a festival like this, and your kids, tune out real quick, don't do this. And you're going to a festival like this and you're potentially in a diaper and those around you are kind of into the same thing. I'm guessing you're doing a decent amount of drugs prior to that festival. So I'm not sure that the first thing you're thinking of in that moment is, man, the person in front of me really smells.
Have a little more respect for yourself then. Let's go down that path. Have a little more respect for yourself to not sit in your own feces so you can have a great spot at a concert.
Okay.
I'm with you.
You're a loser.
I still don't know. I'd go as strong as you on that.
I will.
But
I'm fine going strong on that one.
It affects my life whatsoever.
Well,
if that's what makes you happy,
it does
God
if I'm
bless.
going to it.
I'm not going to this. Alex, you're sure as bleep not going to.
You said
something like
festival
this.
and I'm out.
Exactly. So this is never going to affect you in any way.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's never going to affect me, but I still think you're making terrible life choices, just like the people that take their shoes and socks off on airplanes. You're making terrible life choices for yourself.
That may affect you, though, because you could smell the shoe or the feet.
I would say something there.
This does not.
I would say something.
So if it doesn't affect me whatsoever, you live your life, do what makes you happy.
No.
If it starts to affect me, if you're throwing your diaper on me, then we can have a conversation.
Well, what if they're jumping up and down and the feces is coming out the side or the back?
I'm not going to be close enough to them because I'm 34 years old and I'm not going to be that close at a festival.
I stick to it.
Odds are very low that I'm going to be in that situation. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to Apple TV baseball analyst Spilly. Ryan Spilborghs is going to join us here on the show, talk about his perspective on the 2026 St. Louis Cardinals. And man, has he ever seen anything like what we're witnessing right now from Jordan Walker? We'll talk to Spilly about that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex Ferrario, I'm Brandon Kiley. Happy to go out to the Collier and Thompson hotline to be joined by a man that's going to be on the call tonight for Apple TV as the Cardinals take on the Kansas City Royals in Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium. It is Ryan Spilborghs joining us here on BK and Ferrario. Ryan, appreciate the time, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's funny. So I'm in Kansas City. I'm at a kind of famous barbecue spot called Jack Stack.
Great spot.
I usually go bouncing around. You know, I love going to get barbecue around the league. I got my spot in St. Louis. I got my spot here in Kansas City. So I love it. I-70 matchup tonight. It's going to be awesome.
Spilly, what's your spot in St. Louis?
I got to remember, I used to walk. Was it like a Flying Pig place? What's the name of the one? It was right from the stadium. I'd walk about 4 blocks. And it was always packed.
Salt and Smoke?
No, it's oh God, I know what you're talking about here. I'm completely blanking on it.
Sugar Fire?
Yes.
Sugar Fire. There you go.
Good choice. Good choice.
That's a good one.
Are you at the Freight House in KC down right over by the Crossroads District area in the World War I monument?
Exactly. Yes, and it's funny you say that. That is part of my morning routine here. Is I always walk that memorial. It's a beautiful memorial. It's also somewhat of the area where when the Royals do build their new stadium, it's going to be there right by the Hallmark area. So, yeah, I mean, I like I said, I love to travel when I do these games. I always get out. I have certain places that I stop at, coffee shops, walks, places that you can reflect on the city. That way when you talk at night, you feel like you're connected to the people around it.
You right over by the World Cup area there today, so I would imagine there's going to be a decent amount of foot traffic in the area.
It's funny again. Like, you guys are funny today. So I'm outside Jack Stack. There's a whole area of people getting ready for some soccer, and it's been like the place is packed. And I was talking to the Uber driver last night when I got in. And he said the other day when England played, it was a 2-hour wait time just to grab people from the stadium. So it was kind of nuts.
Oh, my God. I'm heading in town later on this afternoon, so hopefully I'm able to make it in before any of the craziness begins. All right, Spilly, I know you've got limited time here. We do want to ask you about the Cardinals leading into this game tonight. You're a former outfielder. I've got to get your impression on what we're witnessing from Jordan Walker this season. None of us anticipated this kind of a year from him. He's a legit all-star candidate right now. Can you recall anybody that's had this kind of a turnaround the way that Walker has?
I mean, from my experience, I saw this with the guy Charlie Blackmon. I mean, it took some time. Dexter Fowler's another guy that, took about 3 years of time in the big leagues before it kind of clicked. And in the case of Jordan Walker, I mean, you see his body, you see the size, you see the bat speed. How hard he was hitting the ball. He kept hitting the ball on the ground, and I know like they were trying to do the swing changes and. From my perspective, especially knowing people around the organization, and I'm not saying that they felt this way, but just the general sense was, like they're kind of disappointed, right? Like you see what he's capable of doing for the last couple of years, and he just couldn't figure it out. It's kind of frustrating. God, man, like these are the guys that get scouts and front office people fired, because you keep giving them opportunities to figure it out, and it keeps being, a ground ball out to third or a ground ball out to short, and, maybe the defense isn't exactly what you want because he's a converted third baseman. And then this year, it feels like, he got back to the basics, and I love this story about how he started watching his old Little League videos and really just kind of figuring out, like, hey, maybe I don't try to get the ball in the air like everybody's asking me to. Maybe I just take my swing. Maybe I just look at the baseball and try to hit as hard as I can. And so you love these stories. You love these stories because it's nice to know that his path, like he worked his butt off to get where he's going. So I hope he's an all-star.
The hard part, Spilly, with these guys is, as fans, you see it and you just assume it's like, oh, okay, well, this guy's going to be a consistent MVP for the rest of his career. And you know better than anybody, like that's not how this works in baseball. But is there anything about what you're seeing with this performance this season that makes you believe, like, okay, this isn't just a fluke season. This is something that can be continued moving forward?
Well, I think it's the age of where he's at. You know, he's always had good metrics. So like the underlying metrics have always been good for him. But I think it would be different if he was 29 having this breakout year versus being in the mid-20s. So I think age benefits it. Confidence benefits it. You know, the more and more that he's around with this ABS system, which I don't think people talk enough about, the benefit of having a controlled strike zone that's yours and it travels with you. So you're not worried about a Laz Diaz or an Angel Hernandez ripping you on a pitch that's off the plate. Like, you have a controlled strike zone. So that makes it for, like, if you have some sort of plate discipline or your timing's locked in, pitchers have to throw you strikes. There's no way around it. Otherwise, it's a ball. So, yeah, I would say it's age, and I think it's confidence, and I think, honestly, the ABS has helped a couple guys out.
Ryan Spilborghs joining us here on 101 ESPN, analyst for Apple TV. You'll see him on the call tonight, Cardinals versus the Royals in KC. Spilly, I did want to ask you about the Cardinals starter for tonight's game, and that's Michael McGreevy. He is a throwback in every sense. He could have pitched back when you were in the league, and it would have made a lot more sense than when he's pitching, which is right now. This season, he has 51 strikeouts in 78 innings, and yet despite that, he has a sub-3 ERA. What about him do you enjoy watching right now? Because I have to imagine, given the era that you played in, this is a guy that reminds you of some of the pitchers that you went up against.
Well, what I like about him is that he's a gaucho. So I'm a gaucho, he's a gaucho, so I'm always proud of my gauchos. He went to UC Santa Barbara, and I've had a chance to connect with McGreevy every time I see him. I'll leave him alone to start, even though he's a chatty guy. Look, there's a couple things. You know, when you think about this game and you know, the evolution of high velocity at the top of the zone and some of the carry that we're seeing from guys, to have, you know, a sinker baller that has a good feel for, you know, getting the ball on the ground, it works because of the defense, right? Like, this defense is really good, far more athletic than it was in years past. And so you benefit from defense. You know, it's not a great recipe. You'd like to have punch. You know, I think that's some of the numbers underneath the surface. You know, like if you look at the low ERA, but then you look at some of the expected stats, and it's about double of what it should be. So, you know, is it a facade? No. I just think that because you're having differences in pitchers. Like if McGreevy was from like 20 years back, he'd be kind of like a normal right-handed starter, right? Like we've seen with the Cardinals for years. So it's still that contact pitcher that the Cardinals love. But I think in this case, with his defense and just kind of having a sense of how to pitch, I like it. I like it a lot.
We'll get you out of here on this, Billy. The Cardinals right now, 40-33 on the year, 5.5 back of the Brewers. But as of today, they would have that top spot in the National League wildcard race. We talked with Cardinals analyst Brad Thompson, who, by the way, says hello earlier today. And he said, hey, I think they probably end up just kind of staying the course, barring something unforeseen, and maybe still selling at this year's trade deadline. How do you view them in the bigger picture? Do you think this is a team that should be buying at the deadline, or do you still think they should stay the course and do what they were planning to do coming into the season, which would be a seller?
Yeah, well, I think Brad's a nerd first and foremost, but I think what's, you know, the Cardinals and White Sox are baseball's best story. I mean, it really is. This has been the biggest surprise. They've been the biggest, you know, entertaining team to watch. It depends on what we're talking about. I mean, I think what Heim did, and like we've been really critical of Heim, you know, not just from, you know, the outside, but you go back to his time with Boston. You know, what he did was kind of like trim the hedges, right? Like he dropped some of the anchors and some of the blockers for the organization, the Nolans and the Contreras and the Brendan Donovans. Not that they were not great players, but it was blocking young players. And so, you know, you have an opportunity here to get better. I think there's probably lower end market guys that you can jump on, but you know, a Skubal doesn't make sense here. A Joe Ryan doesn't make sense. If there is a, you know, half a year rental, what is that worth? You know, you'd hate to lose somebody with years of control that might be a future Cardinal down the road. But them ad.
Ryan Spilborghs, you'll see him on the call tonight for Apple TV. Cardinals versus the Royals. Former Rockies outfielder, now doing great work with Apple TV. Spilly, appreciate the time, man. Enjoy yourself out there in Kansas City this weekend. We'll talk with you again soon.
Bye, you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. That's Ryan Spilborghs joining us here on 101 ESPN. Really appreciate his time here on the show. Man, the last thing he said there, Cardinals and the White Sox are the best stories in Major League Baseball this season. That's true. Like, it's just objectively true. The White Sox, by the way, probably aren't getting enough attention for what they're doing right now. Part of it is their division's trash. It's so bad this year. But part of it is, like, they've had kind of similar results to the Cardinals where it's just surprising young players that are producing, one of whom is actually a player that they got in that Eric Fetty deal, Miguel Vargas, who this season, have you seen his numbers, by the way, guys? Miguel Vargas this year, batting only .240. All right, fine, set that aside.
That's pretty bad.
Doing his best Lars Nootbaar impression, though, getting on base 36% of the time, has 16 homers and 12 doubles, good for a .475 slug. That's an .840 OPS on the season. In other words, he's basically their version of Alec Burleson.
I've seen better.
In terms of what he's doing offensively. So they're getting some really impressive contributions offensively. Murakami, the guy that came over from Japan, 26 years old. People had some serious questions about the swing and miss. 20 home runs in 57 games for the White Sox. So
That'll do it right now, right? Yeah, I mean, and they've been playing well without him. That's when I thought it was going to fall off for them. I thought they'd just kind of go to a shell of themselves once he got hurt, but they haven't lost a beat.
He's missed about 15 games, and it just hasn't mattered. So they're one of the great stories. I really hope the Cardinals don't decide to sell. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier today, and I understand all of the reasons as to why they would. I personally would continue to stay the course, barring what comes in July. If things go awry, like if this becomes what last year was, and Libby becomes your version of Fetty, and maybe Leahy is Michaelis, the pitching's too bad, bullpen starts to go on the south trajectory, and the offense just isn't enough to overcome it. All right, cool, yeah, that everybody would agree then you got to sell. But if that doesn't happen, and you're still in the same spot in late July that you are today, I think this is a team that should be looking at somebody like a Casey Mize. Go make that move. It's not going to cost you a ton. You're not going to mortgage the future for it, and it improves where you're at right now, and it avoids you going out and becoming a seller.
I think the best path for them is just to stick with what they have on their roster and treat the deadline as like, look, you guys have done a great job. We'll make a minor tweak here, but we're just going to let you guys finish out the season unless it falls apart. Just because I don't think you're going to get the return that people believe you're going to get for Dustin May.
Agreed.
And as much as I think you should investigate it and see what's out there and take the phone calls, I also look at it and say, if you don't get the right price for him, then you just leave it as is and let it figure itself out. Let him get in, and maybe magic does happen, and add something minor that doesn't disrupt your pipeline, doesn't disrupt your future, but does make you feel as if, hey, they gave us a reward because we've worked our asses off.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up next, final conversation about the St. Louis Blues for today, heading into the weekend. What is the plan for the center position this offseason? Is that the priority that they should be looking at? We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So earlier today, Alex, we listened to the audio from Vancouver. One of their reporters/radio hosts said there's real buzz that the St. Louis Blues are the team that's kicking the tires on Elias Pettersson. We've heard the noise about them potentially being interested in Mason McTavish. We have speculated, I'm not sure that we've seen anything reported specifically, but speculated that Shane Wright might be another guy that makes a lot of sense for the St. Louis Blues. You've brought up somebody like a Shane Pinto as somebody that who could and probably should be of interest for the St. Louis Blues. Is that the priority, in your opinion? Like, if you could upgrade one area this offseason, is it the center position, or would you look elsewhere as your number one spot to upgrade?
No, to me, the priority from that staff should be to upgrade the center spot because you've got tons of wingers. And if you just say, look, we're just going to have to run it back with Kyrou because nobody wants to pay the price, well, then the best thing you can do for Jordan Kyrou is find a center that can work. And I know that's not the answer. You need Kyrou to do it. But I also think it's not doing him a service to have a Pius Suter or a Pavel Buchnevich as the center. Now, maybe Dvorsky takes a step this season. He's one that I'm very interested to see how it looks. But, yeah, if I'm the Blues, how to continue to build this thing towards the sustained winner that you're hoping for, you've got to upgrade the center position. And that's not taking away playing time from Dvorsky. It's creating the internal competition to say, if you want second-line center opportunities, Dalibor, you go out there and you take it from this guy that's come in. Now, if you go after Elias Pettersson, then, yeah, there's a little bit of, look, Pettersson's going to be that guy, and you move down to the third-line position as things move forward. But
by the way, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with having overqualified third-line players.
The Carolina Hurricanes just proved it, just like the past teams over the last 10-plus years. You've got to have two things, in my opinion, to win a Stanley Cup. A hot goaltender and a depth at center. You've got to have four centers that you can trust in any situation. The MVP of the playoffs, which I know people disagree with, was the third-line center for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Glad you mentioned that. Nikolai Ehlers was his winger.
Yeah.
Who was one of the best players on the Carolina Hurricanes. He was playing third-line wing in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, like you need four centers, really three centers that you're like, I can put them out there in any situation and feel good about it. And I think Dvorsky's a very good two-way center. If you go get Pettersson, now you got a Selke Trophy candidate on top of another guy that should be a Selke Trophy candidate for the remainder of his career. That's what I want if I'm Jim Montgomery. So, yeah, that's my priority.
I also need somebody that can get the most out of all of these wingers that are coming through the system right now. Like, if you want to get the best out of Snuggerud and Holloway and Neighbors and Stenberg and eventually Carbonneau and some of these other guys, maybe somebody that you take this year at 11 overall, well, you're going to need a center to be able to do that.
Yeah.
As of today, I'm not sure Dvorsky's that guy. Today.
Yeah.
I think he can be, but he's not there just yet. And so for this upcoming season, the best way to evaluate these wingers that are currently on your roster is to have somebody that can maximize their current skill sets. Robert Thomas can do that. I think you've been able to see over the last 30 or so games of the regular season what you have in Snuggerud and Holloway because they played with Robert Thomas. That line works because you have the center. On the second line right now, I'm not sure where Jake Neighbors' game is at right now, because I don't think you have a second-line center that can maximize it.
No.
I'm not sure where Jordan Kyrou's game is right now because you didn't have that second-line center who can maximize it. If the Blues decided we're running it back with Jordan Kyrou this year because we want to be able to get either maximum return in a trade or maximum return on investment on that contract, the way you do that is by going out and getting one of these centers. So I'm in full agreement with you, Alex.
Yeah.
I think that should be the priority.
Well, and I know from the conversation earlier, and I know Jamie brought it up, to where money gets tight if you do go get an Elias Pettersson, and Byram's name's brought up. And I just went through it with you guys during a commercial break. You are not in a position to where money gets tight, because I don't think Snuggerud's going to be commanding $10 million, nor do I think the Blues give that to him. Neighbors isn't going to outprice himself, nor is anybody else in your system like a Mayu or a Stenberg or a Carbonneau. You're going to have $113 million in salary cap. That's the ceiling next year. And if you were to bring in a Pettersson, and I speculated to go get a Byram and give him a contract extension at $10 million, then you're still holding about $13 or $14 million by
Is that with Kyrou or
that's
without
Kyrou?
Okay, so if you had Kyrou, there's about $5 million to spare.
Correct. But I don't think you're getting Byram without moving Kyrou. It's kind of my...
For sake of argument, that is the one scenario where things could potentially get a little tighter there, and you're locked into your core.
Yes.
And that would be the concern if you're a Blues fan that is skeptical on an Elias Pettersson. What if this doesn't work? The downside is now I'm locked into mediocrity for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And that is scary. That is a legitimate concern. But if you don't go make moves like this, aggressive moves, you've also potentially limited your ceiling as an organization. So you got to find upside somewhere. Whether that's draft, trade, free agency, you're eventually going to have to take a risk. This is one of those risks that you could potentially
I would rather the team take a risk and go after somebody that you're trying to get better and bring a change of scenery to than go with the risk of keeping the same roster and saying it will be better this year. I don't think that benefits your team. You can still develop on top of bringing somebody in to try and get a different change of scenery.
Earlier today, we read a piece over on ESPN.com. Trades we'd like to see during the 2026 NHL offseason. This is from 3 of their reporters, including Ryan Clark and Greg Wyshynski, both of whom we really like here on the show. Alex, did you see the trade that they had for Jake DeBrusk?
I did see that.
The trade for Jake DeBrusk was a 3-team deal. T-Bone, have you seen this?
I took a peek at it. I don't remember who's involved in it.
Jake DeBrusk goes to the Colorado Avalanche in this deal.
Great spot for him.
The Washington Capitals end up with Valerie Nichushkin. The Vancouver Canucks, basically in return for Jake DeBrusk, get Anaheim's first-round selection and a 2026 third-round pick for Jake DeBrusk. So for all the crap that we gave to our guy Chris Kerber the other day, this is basically the equivalent of 15 overall.
Well, I mean, it's Colorado's first pick.
No, it was Anaheim's.
That's still the back half of the draft. I mean, Anaheim,
it's 18 overall, I think.
But is it the 2026 or 2027 first round pick?
26.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah. So this is 18 overall and a third, which is effectively the equivalent of the 15th overall selection for Jake DeBrusk. Now, I continue to believe if that's the asking price, I would not do that. That's crazy to me. But maybe Curbs was onto something, and that's the asking price for a guy like Jake DeBrusk. If it is, Alex, if DeBrusk is going to command a 15th overall selection, is that something you would explore if you're the Blues, if they decide to trade Jordan Kyrou somewhere else? Like, let's say Kyrou is the move for Elias Pettersson, and you now are like, okay, we'd like to have a second-line winger to go with Pettersson and Jake Neighbors, maybe.
Yeah, I'd explore
that. Would you consider Jake DeBrusk?
Yeah, I would explore that scenario because the only way I'm going after DeBrusk is if, 1, I'm moving Kyrou because I need to move a winger off of my team, and 2, I'm getting a center that's an upgrade for my roster. Because getting DeBrusk and moving Kyrou for, let's say, a defenseman, that doesn't benefit your team. Your center spot's still not very good, and you're just bringing in another forward that you're hoping has an upside. If I'm getting Pettersson and DeBrusk, and I'm moving out Kyrou in the 15th overall pick, that team is an upgrade from what last season's team was, in my opinion.
I think it probably is, too.
Still needs help on the defensive side, but you're going with development at that front with Juracek and Parayko and Lindstein and the guys that are already there.
I think you would expect better return on investment from Jake DeBrusk than what you got last year from Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that he will be better than Jordan Kyrou next year, but between the two of them, who do I think is better? 2025 Jordan Kyrou or 2026 Jake DeBrusk? I would probably take 26 Jake DeBrusk.
And in that scenario, I still am drafting somebody 11th overall.
So this trade potentially would be 15 overall plus Jordan Kyrou for Jake DeBrusk and Elias Pettersson.
And Pettersson, by the way, at $8.69 million.
Would you make that move, T-Bone?
I don't mind the DeBrusk side of it. I don't like
T-Bone
the
hates Pettersson.
trade. I have no interest in Pettersson. I just think he's a cancer in the locker room that I would not add to a locker room that I'm not convinced
McTavish is too?
Well led here. What?
What if McTavish is a cancer in the locker room too?
I've not heard as much on McTavish.
I don't get the sense of that, but there is a real question about, can this guy play defense? I mean, we read the piece from The Athletic earlier today where Shayna Goldman, who I think does excellent work for The Athletic, basically said he has no clue what's happening in his own zone. No clue.
And he's slow.
And he's extremely slow, and she said there might be a move that's necessary to the wing, where he might just not be a center long-term because of his lack of foot speed and his lack of defensive ability.
Honestly, the way that she described it sounded an awful lot like what Kevin Hayes looked like in the 1 year he was in St. Louis. Not good in the defensive zone, very slow. I don't know
he's
if
been
I
a
want
goal scorer. Like, I'm willing to.
I mean, Kevin Hayes was too.
Yeah,
Kevin Hayes was a 25-goal scorer.
Yeah, but he was, 30-something at that point?
Well, I mean, I totally get that, but yeah, he's 23, but does Mason McTavish, who is slow and is not good defensively, really bring the best out of Jordan Kyrou?
Also, $7 million per year for the next 6 years.
And
so it's not like he's a cheap
And he's
player.
not known as a playmaker. He's a power forward. He's what David Backus used to be for the Blues, to where he drives north, but he's not good defensively. That's the part for me. If I'm going a guy who had upside of 100 points,
he might be center position version of Jordan Kyrou.
I still would rather take a risk on McTavish.
For Blues pucks, but
I'm not sure, because the article I read earlier today was that's the question. He doesn't go to the boards. He doesn't play with the physicality you would expect for a player of his size, and he doesn't play defense.
And if I'm going change of scenery, I'm going for change of scenery to get back to a 100-point player versus, and even in the worst case scenario, what was Pettersson this year? He had 50 points. Is that what he had? 50. He had 51 points and scored 15 goals. And was a minus 30. The minus 30 is the problem there, but 51 points, I mean, that's what Kyrou just put up. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about an upside of 100 points versus an upside of 70 points with 35 goals.
Yeah, I still would rather have McTavish. I've not heard as much about him being an issue in the locker room, and you could be right. He might be, and that would be something that they would have to look into. I would just rather bank on him, and you know what? If he gets kicked to the wing, so be it. I've got Dvorsky as hopefully my other out to potentially be that number 2 center in the long run, and I've got McTavish. That's a guy that has proven to be a 20-goal scorer. I would rather go after McTavish. I don't trust that Pettersson's going to be a guy that's suddenly going to come here and it's going to be sunshine and rainbows.
Here's a follow-up for you, Alex, on the question that I just asked.
I don't care.
Would you rather have Brock Besser or Jake DeBrusk?
Oh, Jake DeBrusk.
Really?
Yeah. I think Brock Besser I think that 30-plus goals that you saw was just a one-season kind of thing. I don't know if Jake DeBrusk is a guy that does win puck battles in the corner. Jake DeBrusk is a consistent, going to give you 25 goals in a season.
To be fair, the same thing has been true for Brock Besser. 23, 23, 18, 40, 25, 22.
The 40, I think, is what people hope for and think he's going to get back there. And
let's assume he doesn't. That's still basically Jake DeBrusk production.
And I would go more off of, to me, DeBrusk is a guy that wins puck battles versus a Brock Besser, who I think is kind of more Kyrou, to where you need to get the shot off of the rush or the one-timer to set him up.
And to be fair, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I agree with you because of the price.
Plus,
the salary is much different between the two. Jake DeBrusk is
last year.
Yeah, I was going to say Besser's not good defensively either.
Yeah.
DeBrusk is.
DeBrusk is also $5 million.
Yeah.
And Besser is 7.5 with a full no move for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So a little different in that regard.
Also, Besser's going to cost you probably the 11th overall pick plus a top prospect.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN from Adam Hartman over on the YouTube chat. Guys, Jake DeBrusk is a fourth liner and also is almost 30. Jake DeBrusk very much is not a fourth line player.
Jake DeBrusk was a top line player for Jim Montgomery in Boston.
DeBrusk over the last 5 years, 25, 27, 19, 28, 23 goals. Show me a fourth line player in the NHL that has that kind of production. Mm-hmm. One. Just if you can point to a player in the league that is getting consistent fourth line time that puts up those goals, I will show you a player that will immediately be pushed up to the top 9.
Jake DeBrusk, that year that they were the best
third line player.
Yeah, the year that they were the best team in the NHL, he averaged about 17 minutes a night for Boston with 27 goals and 50 points. He basically was their second line left winger and their number 1 power play guy with Pasternak.
Jake DeBrusk is heavy version of Brandon Saad. That's what he is.
Why'd you have to bring that name up?
I mean, Brandon Saad was a good signing for the first couple of years.
You want to sign him again, man? He's available.
No, but
he was a scratch in the playoffs. I'm out.
Brandon Saad was a consistent 20 to 25 goal producer, a 40 to 50 point producer every year. You could write it in pen. And then he got over the age of 30 and things started to go south. Now, if that's your concern with Jake DeBrusk, it's reasonable. This does go eventually. I would say the biggest difference between the two is Brandon Saad started his NHL career when he was 20. The miles that were on him, and it's not just regular season, it's also postseason miles. Those were real. And he played a lot of hockey prior to turning 30 years old, so he was a pretty old 30. And the Blues knew that when they signed him. They signed him to be a guy that could help them for a couple of years, and they knew the back end of the deal probably doesn't age super well. Mm-hmm. But you live with it because of what you get, hopefully, in the first couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I the age is what would be concerned, but I go off of just the style that the guy plays. And the style that Jake DeBrusk plays, I'd be more comfortable with at 30 than I would Brock Besser at 30. Because you're relying on the shot. Jake DeBrusk wins net front battles. Yep. That's where he creates his offense, and that's what I think the Blues do need more of. It's the same reason that JR brought up Mason Marchment. Like, Mason Marchment is the same guy that Jake DeBrusk is.
Honestly, people love Jake Neighbors here in St. Louis. That's what this is. That's what we're talking about.
It's another Jake Neighbors.
Like, if you could have one Jake Neighbors on your second line and another version of Jake Neighbors on your third line, would people be happy about that? I think the answer is yes.
Basically, you're upgrading.
He's $5.5 million for Jake Neighbors level production.
You're upgrading over Pavel Buchnevich, in my opinion, in terms of how the guy plays. And I think that's a good thing to have on your team.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. One's got to go next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals fell to the Royals last night. Game 2 of their 3-game set in KC is tonight. 7:15 will be first pitch. Michael McGreevy will be on the mound for the Cardinals. Seth Lugo will get the start for KC. And Christian Pulisic is out for Team USA today in their World Cup matchup against Australia. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T1, I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. 41's got to go. You give us 4 different options. We'll tell you which one's got to go. Our YouTube chat just brought this up. It's a great point. 19 of Jake DeBrusk's 23 goals last year were on the power play. 19 of them.
Yeah, look at the where he scores the goals. Right in front of the net.
The year prior, 14 of his 28. He scored 33 power play goals over the last 2 years. You know what? Screw it. I want him. That's insanity. This team could really use something like that.
You got too many guys on the power play.
There's an apology on our call.
We do actually.
Give up the 11th. Move up to 4 and get it for him.
Don't make me turn your mic off over there, Brandon.
We do need to apologize to Curbs.
Steinberg, who?
Yeah.
Give me Jake DeBrusk.
So in the world that
we're lusting for DeBrusk.
Whoa, lusting for DeBrusk.
T-shirt.
And that is so a t-shirt. So in the world that we live right now.
I just nuded in Bush.
Oh, that's true. So we're getting Pettersson and DeBrusk in a trade with Vancouver.
Cool.
15, 29, and a prospect for DeBrusk and Pettersson.
I'd just rather give up Kyrou in this deal than one of those other deals.
I think people understand. He's not going to Vancouver. I don't think he goes to Vancouver.
I didn't hear it's beautiful.
I don't think it matters. It's beautiful. You're about to go into.
It's one of my bucket list places.
You're about to go into a stretch of winning probably 10 to 12 games a season.
I
being
kind of
totally
agree with
serious.
Alex. I don't think he's going there.
I don't think so, man.
I don't know how much that matters.
If he's not going to go to Seattle, why would he go to Vancouver?
Maybe he doesn't want to live in Seattle.
It's right next to Vancouver.
He can live
legitimately at the border.
Yeah, Vancouver's not.
He can live in Vancouver.
It's at the border, man. It's not that far.
Yeah, but they're not the same. Maybe he wants to be in Canada.
Seattle actually has a chance to be a playoff team.
Citizen. Maybe he wants to be back up in Canada.
I think he'd rather go to a team that could be competitive, also close to Canada.
Maybe he believes he could make them competitive.
Yeah, who's passing him the puck?
I don't know.
Literally nobody.
First off, no.
I think Malhotra. The coach's son.
No, he's going to college next year.
Yeah, well, 2 years from now.
Oh, okay.
He's going to be there for the long
So,
haul.
Kyrie, you're going to suck for this year, but boy, in 3 years,
You're not
man.
going to. The team is going to. Kyrie, you're going to play 25 minutes a night.
Oh, because Kyrie's the guy that generates all of the offense himself and has success doing so, right?
All right.
How did he do this year? How many goals did he score?
Not enough.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Hey, next Thursday, you can join me
Hell out of here.
Cybergs on Dorset, along with Michelob Ultra for the U.S. versus Turkey. Myself, the 101 ESPN crew, and Mick Ultra will be on site for the kickoff of USA versus Turkey. I'll be there at 7 up until 9 o'clock. Kickoff for that game is at 9. Michelob Ultra is a superior light beer and the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26. So be sure to enjoy an Ultra as you cheer on your favorite team. That's Thursday, starting at 7 with me, BK, Michelob Ultra at Cybergs off of Dorset in Maryland Heights. Full details for that at 101ESPN.com. As T-Bone just mentioned, the game today between the U.S. and Australia, it sounds like Christian Pulisic will be unavailable. The odds, though, U.S. still minus 160 to win that one. T-Bone, you think they get it?
I think they tie. I think it's going to be a
Plus
draw today.
310, 3-1 odds on a draw.
Australia was very impressive in their game against Turkey. I think Australia's going to come out. I think Pulisic's going to hurt the offense a little bit, and the defense
Have they
was
announced
a little
who's replacing him, by the way?
They did. I don't have it in front of me. I can't remember who they put into the one. I mean, way to throw that one at
Good
me.
show, prep ass.
But I think it's a draw today. I think Australia's going to keep it. It's going to be tough.
All right, one's got to go. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. You give us 4 options, we'll tell you which one's
two
got
of
to go.
them, and then he's going to wrap because he's bad on time.
I already told Jamie we're not getting in until 206.
That's
That was his fault.
Yeah.
From the 573. This is T-Bone's version of One's Gotta Go. One's Gotta Go video game edition.
All right.
MLB The Show, Madden, or NBA 2K?
Oh, this is easy.
I'm actually.
What's your answer?
Wow, you said it was
okay,
T-Bones.
I think it's MLB The Show.
Oh,
I'm out on MLB The Show the last couple of years.
NBA 2K.
2K's amazing.
2K's
that's
great.
wrong.
It's
NBA
got
2K
great
is terrible.
customization.
The answer is
so-
Madden.
Yeah, I thought about Madden. It's getting
Madden
better,
has been
though.
the same game for 15 years.
It has, but
it's getting
still,
better.
It's still something that everybody
Like,
wants.
I'm excited for what it's going to look like this year. Like, I'm going to buy it and the college football game
MLB
this
The
year.
Show has better in-season franchise mode. It has better
See, I think it sucks.
Then Madden, yes, but then NBA 2K? No,
absolutely.
not. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely
That's your
does.
worst take you've ever given on the show.
Okay, how many video games do you play?
Hey, he's still playing on his...
Of the sports games? All of them.
He's still
No,
playing
you
on
don't.
his PS2.
Xbox 360, thank you very much.
Your
my bad.
graphics haven't looked good since 2005, Brandon.
From the 618, one's got to go. BK's love for breweries, T-Bone's love for cigars and naps, or Alex's workaholic lifestyle. Alex's workaholic lifestyle. That would be the easy ones.
Yeah, why would I get rid of BK's breweries?
Thank you, T-Bone.
Yeah. He likes some weird beers, but I'm okay with that.
One's got to go.
Do the naps.
Sports drink edition.
I haven't taken one in like 10 years.
I'm ready for mine.
I don't even do them anymore.
Gatorade,
15.
Body Armor, Powerade, or Prime. I can honestly say I've never had a Prime.
Never had a Prime.
That being said, Powerade, it's too sugary.
Yeah.
Never had a Prime. I think Primes
Prime's
are
good.
too sugary, aren't they?
No, aren't they? They're the coconut water ones, right?
No.
Oh,
Prime is
that's the coconut water.
Isn't that the Jake Paul one?
Yeah, no, that's coconut water, I'm pretty sure. I think I'm right on that. I could be wrong. I've had a Prime.
Prime Hydration, zero sugar sports drink with electrolytes and Prime Energy, a caffeinated energy drink. Oh, it's caffeinated? Yeah, I'll go this one.
Yeah, Prime. No,
what am I
that's
thinking
trash.
of then?
I don't know.
I would give her a Powerade still, no matter what.
One's got to go. The Loop, the Hill, or the St. Charles Main Street
St. Charles
area?
I'd go the Loop.
Yep.
Really?
I do like the Loop a lot, but those other two
There's some
areas are
concert
great.
venues there.
Yeah, Loop's
I
fun,
think
but
the restaurants in that area.
Yeah,
are great.
I like. I mean, yeah.
What was the other one outside St. Charles, and what was the other one?
The Hill. Main Street and the Hill.
You're not getting rid of the Hill. I'd give her St. Charles Main Street.
Man, I've gone back and forth. I think I might do
I like
the Main
the
Street.
restaurants there, but man, I just don't enjoy the shops.
Yeah, I kind of like some of the spots on the Loop. I think I'd go Main Street.
Okay. It's
I like
literally
St.
down the
Charles Main
street from me,
Street,
so I can't get rid of that one.
Do we get rid of BK too?
You're the worst.
Okay, then Main Street.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for One's Gotta Go. One's Gotta Go quarterback edition. Lamar, Josh Allen, Burrow, or Jalen Hurts. Come on, man. Try harder. Low life dad. It's Jalen Hurts.
Mahomes.
That wasn't an option.
Yeah, I think I'd go Hurts as well.
I apologize, low life dad. That was mean, but
I was
seriously,
debating
the other
between
three
him
are
and
very
Lamar, but Lamar's won MVPs. Hurts hasn't,
Yeah.
so it becomes Hurts.
I'd get rid of Hurts.
Lamar can't play in the playoffs, but Hurts at least has won 2 Super Bowls.
Somebody on the text line said Body Armor is the one with coconut water.
Body Armor, that's what I was
I
thinking
like Body Armor.
That's good.
I do like Body Armor.
So I guess
my
I haven't
preference.
had a...
They had
whatever the other one was.
they had a
Prime.
Kobe Bryant flavor of Body Armor that was really good.
It's good
It was
stuff.
really good. Yeah.
Never had it?
I forget what the flavor of it was. It's like grape and coconut or something like that.
Oh,
It's a
that
really
sounds
good mix.
awful.
Oh, no, it was such a good mix.
It really sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Alongside Alex
You're
and T-Bone,
terrible.
I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. We'll hit the rewind coming up next on BK and Ferrario. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
You can also check us out over on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPNSTL. After the show, you can find us there. You can also find the latest edition over there of the Last Minute Blues podcast, as 3,000 of your friends have done over on the YouTube page.
3.3 to be exact.
The latest edition of the Redbird Report is now available for you. 47 minutes of exclusively Cardinals content between myself and Tanner Hendrickson. Almost 2,000 of you have already chosen to check that out over on the YouTube page.
47 minutes of T-Bone and BK in my ear holes now, please. Put them in.
Do it.
Put them in.
Hey, man, it's super easy.
Put them
YouTube.com.
You're going to listen on your drive
/101 ESPN STL. Or,
attaboy.
you know what? Do this too. Subscribe and download the Redbird Report podcast. That does us a huge favor. It helps out with our numbers and, frankly, helps us get this podcast sponsored, which, once again, I will ask you one more time. Any of you guys out there that are interested in sponsoring the Redbird Report, shoot me an email.
For me.
Kiley at 101ESPN.com. And if you're interested in sponsoring the Redbird Report or the Last Minute Blues podcast,
or
you
maybe
let us
both.
know. You let us know, and we'll direct you to the right people.
See this shirt right here?
We would love to get somebody
It's a blue
involved.
shirt.
I could be wearing your logo today. See this head? It could have a hat with your logo on it. See these pants? I could be wearing your pants with my logo on it.
We are hoping to do
that,
a
man.
trade deadline show, by the way, coming up here in about 6 weeks. I'm going to great lengths to get back from New York in time to be able to do that on the Monday. So if you or somebody that you know has a business that would like to sponsor that specific show, even if you don't want to do the Redbird Report, reach out.
All right, man, you're coming off desperate here.
I am. Coming up in 10 minutes, we'll hand things over to the fast lane. Alex, Cardinals in action once again this weekend against Kansas City Royals. It went poorly last night. I said before that game, hey, this offense stinks. Cardinals should at least be able to do well on the pitching side of things. Well, that aged poorly, 14-6.
But you didn't remember Liberatore was starting.
Yep, that's apparently where things went awry.
You'd only learn bad things in that start from Libby, and well,
technically
we did.
Although I'm surprised BK didn't try and find a way to spin that one.
McGreevy on the mound tonight, Dustin May on the mound on Sunday. How you feeling going into this one? I'll be there tonight, by the way, so God only knows.
So they're losing this one. So they're only taking 1 of 3, which is an epic failure, which I'm done talking about buying. If you don't come away from 2 or 3 with this one, it's problematic because this is one of those series that you have to win. I get the Liberatore thing. Your 2 best starters start the next 2 games. Luckily for your bullpen, they may get some rest with them, but also they get the day off on Saturday, so it does give a little bit of break in between. I say they win the next 2, and I say the Royals score a combined 3 runs the next 2 games.
I like that.
T-Bone, do you think they make a move on the pitching side of things? They really depleted this bullpen last night by having to go to them so early.
I'm not sure. I think they may not. If they do, I think they send down Graceffo because he threw the most amount of pitches. But I think they may not because they're off tomorrow. In theory, you think you're getting linked from McGreevy, and you've already got 5 guys available, I would say, in that pin. So you may not.
Stanix, Fonson, O'Brien, Soriano, and JoJo should all be available, ready to go, not only tonight, but on Sunday as well.
Yeah, so you may not need to make a roster move. They may make one, but I would lean towards no. I don't think they make any.
I agree. After last night, I was like, oh, God, they're going to have to make another move. Maybe they send down Rajic and they just, hey, sorry, man.
It was fun.
33 pitches. Appreciate you coming up. We'll see you again soon, but it's time for Luis Gastelum. I think they'll probably say, you know what, let's see what it looks like tonight. I'm not sure that you trust anybody more than McGreevy to give you at least 6. Maybe Dustin May as well. And then you've got the off day in between. They might be able to get by without having to make any kind of a move. So I'd probably at least wait until the off day tomorrow before you have to make any kind of a decision in that regard. I think they do not make a move. I do think you win each of the next 2. Boy, yesterday was a game that I wish they would have been able to figure out because Noah Cameron is not great.
Boy, he looked awful in the first inning, and I'm like, oh, this should be a fun game.
Yeah, that's the game you really needed to be able to get.
It's missing out on banking wins. I mean, I know you guys have talked about it on the podcast. We've talked about it on the show. And look, if you win 2 or 3, you still feel fine. But you kind of need to bank as many wins as possible just in case before July hits. You probably should have taken 3 against Kansas City.
Yeah, it's weird series, right? Like I know they won 2-3 at home against San Diego, but the Twin series was weird. If you lose 2 out of 3 or knock on wood, all 3 to Kansas City. Like,
I'm going to be singing
about
a
the air
different
coming
tune.
out of the balloon a little bit there, to where those are series that you shouldn't lose if you're a team that we've been talking about as being buyers at the deadline.
And there's no investing in belief that when you take on the Brewers for 5 and 2 series against the Braves, that you're going to come out of that looking good after you dropped those series.
We've talked a lot today about the latest Pedersen speculation coming out of Vancouver, the possibility that the Blues are interested in him. Alex, do you think that the Blues will make any kind of a move before we're back on the air on Monday?
I don't think so, but I think the talk will start to get louder prior to Monday.
This is when Doug Armstrong, June 20th, that's tomorrow, that's when he said things would start to ramp up a little bit.
I think you're going to see a lot more now that we've seen a Radish move happen. We've already seen a couple of other trades. Right now feels like where all of these teams are talking. And remember, the draft isn't in person. Everybody is decentralized. So there's a lot of conversations that happen prior to the draft so that you can figure out everything you need to do that makes the night of the draft easier. So I think a move by the Blues gets made prior to Friday. I just think the noise gets louder between now and Monday.
T-Bone, U.S. versus Australia coming up here in about 5 minutes. How you feeling going into this one with no Christian Pulisic? By the way, do you have the answer yet on who's going to replace him?
No, I did not look at it to see who was in the starting 11. But
you guys in this prep. Whoa.
Well, I assumed we were done talking about it. We're not known as a soccer show.
We rewind the whole show.
I think they get a draw today. I think it's a huge loss to lose Pulisic. I mean, you saw what his impact was in the first half of that game.
Good.
He's unbelievable. I think they'll draw 1-1. I think McKinney's the one that scores a goal for him today. So, but that's not the end of the world, right? Then you'd be tied with Australia up at the top of the group with 4 points and pretty good. They're already in a good spot to get to the round of 32.
Hey, if they lose, you could come meet BK and Ferrario in a week, 2 weeks.
I thought it was if they win.
No, if they lose. If they win, you don't get to meet us. You get to meet the fast lane, which is probably fun for people, but BK and I have kids, so let's hope they lose, right, guys? USA. Okay, cool. Sweet.
I think it's Dest who's coming in for him?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Destined.
Do you have any info on him? Is he good?
He must be good. He's on Team USA.
The awkward silence that just took place in that stretch, very uncomfortable.
Serginho Dest.
He must be good. He plays for PSV.
They're destined
5'8",
to win.
$135.
That's a pure
very
soccer
small
player.
Individual.
That's a pure soccer player right there. Just sneak through some bodies.
He's very young. Yeah, he's 25. I can say he's fairly young too.
We'll see what he's able to do for the U.S.
I'll try the joke the third time. They're destined to win.
Didn't work the first 2 times, didn't land the third.
Well,
that's Alex. He's T-Bone on BK. Looking forward to breaking all of this down for you guys on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Father's Day to any of you guys out there that are fathers that listen to the show. We can't thank you enough for making us part of your day, part of your week, part of your afternoon. We'll talk to you on Monday at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane's coming up next here on 101 ESPN.